Hey everyone, today is Thursday, the 11th of June, 2020. This is the Gap, episode 520. I'm Luke Lawrie. Joab Gilroy is here, and exciting news this week, Joab. The basketball is officially coming back.
Less exciting news, the beard has disappeared.
The beard has disappeared. We've I guess starting, I spoke about this last week, we're starting to open up for lockdown, and so they've got these like phases in California, at least, because each state is kind of doing their own thing, because apparently the federal government over here doesn't want any bar of it. So California has this, or at least San Francisco as well, has a phased rollout system, and so they're hoping at the moment to have everything sort of, I wouldn't call it back to normal, but back to where like people can start going out and that sort of thing. Around about mid-August is sort of the plan at this stage. So, but this week or the end of last week was when they started to open things up a bit more. So yeah, over the next couple of months, things will be opening up a little bit, and so that was time to actually get rid of the beard. Now that I can go outside properly, still can't get a haircut. Haircuts, I think, in a couple of months. At an actual salon, like you could get someone to come out and do it, I think, but
Right.
yeah. So the beard, yes, the beard has gone. It's completely gone. It's back to stubble.
Disappointing. Disappointing. The beard was fantastic. But yes, the basketball is coming back.
Yeah.
And in a limited form, which honestly,
I think it's better than
I'm
nothing.
down.
Yeah, it's a good format. Like they're doing like 22 teams, which is not all of the teams, but it's pretty close. Considering when they ended the season, or they didn't end the season, they postponed the season. There was still, what was there, like 20 games left in the season to go.
Yeah.
So what they're doing is like they've kind of worked out some sort of formula to be like, all right, we'll grab 13 teams from this conference, the West, and then 9 teams from the East, and then the top like 8 teams will then go on to, you know, a regular playoff tournament. But there's more teams in one side because the teams were closer to each other in terms of wins and losses. So they're trying to actually get the proper seeding sorted out. So yeah, there was obviously a bit of back and forwards, and I guess some teams are going to be upset because there was obviously like a regular season a schedule is formatted in a way that some teams will play easier teams early on in the year, and towards the end, once things have trickled out, you've got some teams that have a harder playoff run because they're playing harder or more better teams, basically.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of discussion about that, and they seem to have done a pretty good job because the vote went through bar one team. Like,
and who was the one team? Like the fucking...
It was Portland.
The Pistons. What? Oh, Portland, right. Yeah.
I think it was Portland.
Yeah.
Everyone was assuming it was going to be the Knicks. But it wasn't.
Right, because, you know, the Knicks management is as bad as the team itself. But, yeah, no. It wasn't that. So, that's cool. I mean, I'm excited for it to come back. Obviously, as you know, as long as everyone stays safe and stuff. I don't want people to fucking put themselves in harm's way just for my entertainment. But I am excited to see fucking basketball again. Yeah, it's an interesting. It's just a generally interesting time. Football's coming back here in Australia as well.
Yeah.
Even yeah, like it's just a very interesting period of time, because I think there's going to be a lot of people competing for the same eyeballs. And it might, like, I think people might reevaluate what they watch. You know, like if people found previously that they had the opportunity to sort of stagger what they were watching, this glut of sports might encourage them to wean some of the less important ones out. What I'm saying is baseball should die. Baseball is the worst sport on the planet,
right?
Except for, of course, televised golf, which shouldn't exist.
Okay.
But yeah, for some reason, baseball still continues to get eyeballs, and I just don't fucking get it. It is awful. It is a game that is so bad that people take fucking spreadsheets with them to games to track stats, and I cannot believe, I just can't believe people are into that shit.
I think it's more exciting than cricket.
Test cricket, maybe. Yes.
Yeah.
One days, no chance.
No.
2020s, not a fucking chance.
Where the ones where because they're actually trying to hit the ball, right? In those
yeah,
sports.
Test cricket can fuck itself. That's not even a sport. That's
yeah. 6 days later of playing, it's a draw. You're like, what? What the fuck is it a draw? Shut up. It's a great sport. But one thing I wanted to talk about was you mentioned the football's coming back, and I saw a news story that Steve Farrelly linked to. I'm not being up to date with this, but apparently you can pay to have your photo or a photo in the stands. Is that correct?
What? I didn't see this.
Right. I don't know how true it is, but there was a news article of the crowd, and they got like cardboard cutouts, right, of the crowd, and apparently someone had like a famous serial killer or some sort of serial killer like sitting in the crowd, like they paid money to get this on there. So there's like pictures of people's dogs and that sort of stuff. I don't know how accurate, at least the Reddit post I saw in relation to how much you could pay to get this thing, but there's definitely news articles about some of these photos appearing. And so what I wanted to say is that I saw another news story talking about the NBA, and they're one of the things they were discussing was how they're going to handle the crowd situation. Obviously, there isn't going to be a crowd. They're having like limited attendance at this resort, so they're going into lockdown in Disneyland or Disney World in Orlando, where these 22 teams will play across a 3-month period. And so there's going to be no attendance, no crowd. And one of the things they were discussing was they might get the help of NBA 2K and get the crowd noises fed into the actual like broadcast. So like the commentators will be able to hear it, and you sitting at home will be able to hear crowd noise, and that is possibly going to be taken from the game, because obviously the game has crowd noise, and they've gone to each stadium and like recorded what crowd sounds like, what the vibe of it is, like the music they play during the games and the sounds and things like that. And so that's an interesting sort of solution, I guess, because we've never really had
they're definitely experimenting like worldwide with like piping in crowd noises. I'm surprised that they'd go to NBA for that. But I guess it makes sense, right?
Yeah, I know there's been some players that have not really wanted it, but it's kind of I don't know. I feel like they need to do maybe something, because otherwise it's going to be so quiet you're going to be able to hear these players, and some of the things that are coming out of their mouths is probably something you're not going to want on TV for 3 hours straight, like them swearing at each other and things like that. Calling each other names, unless they go down the path of being like, you can't say these things. But even then, are they going to do it? Probably not. So I think they're looking at interesting solutions, and just working with a video game company to sort of resolve that is an interesting thought. I don't know if it'll work. I think there's more interesting or better things they need to sort out, like what happens when if a player is diagnosed, because they're going to be treated, or sorry, not treated, they're going to be tested basically every day. What happens then, and what happens if there is an outbreak in this self-contained thing? What does that look like? And how does that affect teams' chances? What if the number one team, what if the Bucks end up with 4 players being tested positive, what then? It's I don't know, it's going to be really interesting to watch this unfold.
Yeah.
And then I also got like a survey today sent to me from the NBA being like, hey, here's kind of what we're thinking of doing, or not even what we're thinking, but what do you think about these sort of proposed solutions? Things like limited menu items at stadiums, because I've been to a bunch of games, and so they're looking at like what they can do at venues. Do you want on-site testing? Do you want on-site treatment? Should everybody be wearing masks? What type of rank these from 1 to 5 on what is most important for you. Like, do you want to have apps to order your food, or do you want to stand in line? Stuff like that. So they're definitely thinking of ways to do this stuff, because it's going to be probably another year like this at least. That's if they can find a cure or a treatment. So yeah, I don't know. It's just interesting times that we're starting to get back into the swing of things, and just seeing that sports story about the NRL and how they're sort of handling things back in Australia for crowds. Like, I think it'd be pretty cool if they did something for the basketball, like that thing where they just donated a bunch of money to have your face in the crowd, and we'll donate $50 or I don't know, whatever it is, to testing or employees' wages for people that are being affected or something. Like, I don't know. Yeah, interesting ways to
I think the billionaires who own the teams can probably, cover the employees who've been affected. You would expect. I just want to go back to this fucking serial killer in the fucking crowd. So you were paying $22 to have your photo in the crowd, and the guy they put in the crowd was Harold Shipman.
Yep.
Who was a British doctor who is the most prolific serial killer in recorded history.
Right.
Between 215 and 265 plus victims. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Most of them elderly women. What a fucking... How fucking crazy is that? That's fucking bananas. I saw a clip of South Korean baseball. The only good thing to come out of baseball, instead of, getting photos of serial killers in the crowd, they filled the stands with stuffed animals.
Oh yeah, I saw this. Yeah,
pretty entertaining. Pretty good idea. I think it worked pretty well. But yeah. Anyway, like it's cool. It's just gonna be interesting to see how it all shakes out, I think, with sports coming back the way it is. Yeah, it's cool they sent you a survey though. I don't know.
Yeah, it was like, what have you been doing? Like, how many games do you normally go to? How many events do you watch at home? Like basketball games? Do you what are you doing with the free time now that you're not watching basketball? Or like, and it's got like video games in one of them. So like, but yeah, they're definitely looking at ways that they can bring this stuff back. Like, I don't think we have crowds or audiences for a while, or if they do, it's going to be very limited next season, because they're starting back up in December. December 1st, I think, was the date, not Christmas Day, which was the rumor. So yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how they bring it all back, and if they bring it back, because it's things are not exactly getting better here; they're getting worse. So yeah, I don't know. Anyway, should do some video games. It's a lot.
Video games. Let's start with, real briefly, Minecraft Dungeons.
Yeah, are you back in?
No, I went back. We should have talked about it last week. I forgot to put it on the fucking list. But I went back after we'd finished talking about it last week, and played through Adventure a little bit, the second difficulty, just to give it like a bit more of a shake. And I ran into a secret level, and I went looking. I looked it up, and it seems like every level has a secret level, and all of these secret levels have these runes that you can find. And if you find all those runes, if you go on our Discord, you can see Racy chucked a video up of there's a secret cow level which is obviously a Diablo classic. So I guess I just wanted to, like, I think we were definitely quite harsh on Minecraft Dungeons, but for its shallowness, I do still think it's quite shallow. I mean, at the end of the day, the primary currency is used only for gacha style fucking loot acquisition, which I think is too naked a concept, too naked a rendition of the loot based concept for a game aimed at fucking 6-year-olds. Like, it's in my mind, it is too directly linked to gambling. I mean, there's no question that gacha is, in my opinion, gambling. It's this heinous, like, it's even regulated to some extent as such in Japan, where it's originated. It is basically poker machines.
Right.
So I do have, like, I've got, personal moral issues with the way it is tied to the only source of depth, or one of the only sources of depth in Minecraft Dungeons. But I do think I just wanted to walk back. It was not as shallow as I thought it was.
Right.
I think it was still a shallower game than Maneater. Certainly shorter in terms of being able to capture my attention. But with extra levels, secret levels, very quite hidden levels. I do think that there is more to it than, and Racy pointed out that you unlock a brand new bunch of enchantments as you play through as well, which I did manage to get to, and that does broaden the play style, like your play styles a little bit. You go from sort of just using the same. I think in my initial run, like from start to finish, even playing on too hard a difficulty, I stuck with one of those fucking. I think I had the fucking firework that I picked up in like the second level or something all the way through, because even being kind of shit with the upgrades I had on my bow, it was still a huge DPS bomb, and I never found another fucking firework until extremely late. I think maybe when I started Adventure, or like literally the reward I got for finishing the fucking main playthrough. So yeah, because I never had another firework, I just never fucking replaced the thing. So yeah, like that sort of led to the shallowness. But yeah, once you do unlock more enchantments, it does broaden out a little bit. I didn't go all the way through to Apocalypse difficulty or whatever it's called, but I have a feeling like there might be more enchantments hidden there as well.
Right.
If that's the case, there is depth, and I just think I just wanted to clarify that I think we were a bit harsh on it.
No, like, I don't know why you hide all of that, like, gameplay behind this, like, secret levels, like half the game. How long did it take us to finish? Not even somewhere between 2 to 3 hours. Can't even remember. Why are you then hiding 50% of your content behind secret levels that a lot of people probably aren't going to find unless they're actually spending the time to go and look for this stuff? It's just such a weird approach to design.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm like, I totally agree. I think that's what I said to Racy about it. But yeah, I just wanted to clarify. At the end of the day, there is a little bit more to it. So maybe if you are playing with your kids or whatever, don't give it up on it immediately. But yeah, anyway, I just wanted to give it a fair shake of the I don't know, sauce bottle, to borrow a terrible fucking phrase. Anyway, yeah, that's that. Minecraft Dungeons. Moving on.
What else we got?
I don't know. Zombie Night Terror.
Yep.
It's a mobile game that is basically a zombie-themed Lemmings. So you're sort of controlling these zombies. You've got these levels you need to traverse. They like the zombies themselves, like Lemmings, just sort of will move autonomously. But they're very limited in what they're capable of. They'll just sort of move forward, right? And when they hit a wall, they'll turn back and move back in the other direction. And it's your job to sort of create the mechanism that will lead to them solving a level. It's like Lemmings, it's a puzzle game. Yeah, it's just a zombie themed twist on the concept. So you've got stuff like you can infect people, or you can make the zombies jump, or you can make them explode, and you've got to combine all these abilities, and it sort of trickles out these abilities, and there's like a cost for using them. Obviously, exploding a zombie costs you the zombie plus. There's this DNA system where you get DNA, zombie DNA by creating zombies or by specifically burning them out, and you've got to sort of balance that economy against your abilities, and then create this essentially like Lemmings, a Rube Goldberg machine that leads to solving the puzzle. In this case, generally the murder of every human inside the level, and the trick of it comes in when I guess you encounter these these enemies that are capable of hurting you. So you got enemies with shotguns and guns and swords and stuff, and you've got to work out specific ways to get them. And it might be earlier levels, it's as simple as infecting them. You can tap anywhere on the level and infect someone, and that's the easiest way to get rid of someone with a fucking shotgun. But if they're standing in front of someone with a gun, they'll die. So you might be better off infecting the person with the gun first and letting them get the person with the shotgun, and it sort of spreads that way. And you've got to do that sort of linking stuff on your own. Later on, you're creating opportunities for your zombies to jump and like leap over sword attacks and stuff like that. And because ultimately, like, you can set things up, you can set up certain zombies to throw other zombies, and they'll just sort of do that every single time. They'll throw every zombie that comes along, like moves past them. So you can set that up, and it's sort of fire and forget, because at the end of the day, you only have an immediate impact on a single entity in any one level at any time. So you can't make, unless you have a thrower zombie, you can't make every single fucking zombie jump over a fucking ledge. So you've got to decide, do you want everyone to jump over a ledge, or do you want just one to jump over a ledge? And if you want all of them, you've got to set up the thrower. If you want just one, you jump them. And there's that sort of mechanical skill that I think maybe makes it a little bit difficult. I think it's on PC, as I'm playing on phone.
It's on PC, yeah.
Right. I think it will probably be a significantly easier game on PC compared to phone. But that said, like, it still works quite well. It's significantly cheaper on phone, which is good. It's like $18.50 on PC. It's on Steam. Yeah, like on phone, there are just some scenarios where you're like, the levels are quite big, and it takes some doing. Like, you're dragging the screen with you, like you're dragging your finger across your fucking phone over and over and over again just to get from one side to the other, so you've got some idea of how the fucking level works. And so there are multiple levels to, like, multiple stages to working out how a fucking level functions before you even begin to attempt to solve it. Like, you'll do the fucking swipe all the way across the level, and then swipe all the way back, And by that time, the only zombie you've got in that level has fallen down a pit and died.
Mm-hmm.
And so you'll have to start over again. So then you've got to fucking work out how to keep that motherfucker alive while you are trying to work out all the little things you need to do. And the way that like each level has like special objectives, and a way that a lot of those special objectives are created is that you need to have made the correct moves from fucking the first moment. And so it's not something that you can sort of work out on the fly. Like you can sort of brute force work some of the levels out on the fly, especially early on in the game. But as it continues, as it grows in complexity, you wind up in this situation where, you really have to just let zombies die while you attempt to work out the many moving parts in each level. Which is quite satisfying, but very difficult on a phone. And it's sort of like in the earlier levels when you're not paying all that much attention, or you don't have to pay as much attention. It's a good phone game. And then when it ramps up in complexity and the limitations of the phone lead to situations where you need to concentrate a lot, it turns into something that I think is quite a satisfying game to play, but not a good phone game, because what I want from a phone game is something that I don't have to, I can pay as much attention to the phone game as I am to, I don't know, crunching out a poop or watching Futurama or something like that, right? And the moment I am paying significant amount of attention to the phone game, right? Like, if you just notice the stark difference in the sound quality, I don't know, something just happened to our recording. Anyway, so
hopefully we got it back up.
Yes. Anyway, so it's one of those situations where I really enjoy it, but I worry that it's not great for what I want out of a phone game. I'll probably continue to play it until I find another phone game, but that's the trick with, I mean, can you imagine? It must be so difficult to create a fucking mobile game or a game on mobile when, fucking the world's greatest game reviewer is sitting there being all like, I just have to pay too much attention to this game. Oh,
can you not just let me give you $5 so I can complete the level? Like, just let me buy the win on the level? It's too hard.
Yep.
Is there any progression in terms of, I don't know, whether it's some sort of currency or experience where you get to the next level and you're sort of unlocking more things, or is it purely just a puzzle game where it's like, here's a new type of enemy, or not enemy, but like zombie you can use, and this is how you solve it, and that sort of thing?
There is a mutation system that I can't for the life of me work out. I think it has a really bad UI. Like, honestly, it has a terrible UI. Most of the stuff in the game, it's just a row of buttons down the bottom of the screen. And to work out what any of these things do, I mean, there is a mild amount of tutorialization, but it doesn't, you just sort of got to guess. Like, it'll be like, you basically just have to do it and see what happens. The icon looks like it might be an explosion, but there's also another icon that is a flame. So one of those might be the explosion, and the icon for the dude who forces zombies to turn around is just like this hunchback guy. And to find out what the hunchback guy does, you're gonna just gotta fucking click on it and make someone a hunchback, and like trial and error. Like, I just don't. There's not a lot of information in the game about how stuff works. So there is a mutation screen that I've seen a couple of times, but I can't fucking mouse over anything to find out more information. So I'm not sure if I'm playing without any of the mutations that I should have unlocked, or if I haven't unlocked any, or if you don't unlock them, or what the fuck any of that does. It's very difficult to tell. I presume you don't need mutations. But they exist. I just don't understand what they do.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah. Anyway. Anyway,
all right. I might talk quickly about some of the stuff I've been checking out, and then we'll go back to you.
do it.
Played a little bit of Elder Scrolls Online. So the new expansion just came out recently, right? And you've done a bit of coverage on it, I believe, for some sites.
Yep. Yes.
So I got a code for this, but I haven't actually checked out any of the new content I'm playing. I've once again started from scratch on a character.
Yeah. Sure.
I think this is my third character now.
Yep.
And they're not very high levels. I think one of them is like level 15, the other one is like level 6 or 7, and then this one I'm playing now is fairly new. But I think the last time I talked about this was sometime last year, like January last year it might have been. And the starting area again is very different to what I played back then. And I don't know if that's just because each starting area of each like faction is different, but yeah, I'm in it.
With the beginning of Greymoor, they introduced a brand new starting area.
Okay.
That's what they like. That's their plan. Is every single time they do a new big expansion, they want a new starting area to give players an opportunity to experience from the get-go. But obviously, there are entry paths for every single region, so that you can work out what to do in an area. Like if you've been playing forever and you've got a billion fucking champion points or whatever. But yeah, so you have technically been playing the new content.
Yeah.
In Greymoor.
Right. Because when I fired it up, I got to you finish the tutorial area and then you go to the next bit and I'm like, is this Skyrim? Like, am I in Skyrim right now? It's like there's things I've seen in the locations that I'm like, why does that look familiar? Yeah, and it's just really weird because I'm like, isn't this supposed to be? Because I had it's
in
Skyrim.
Greymoor, you start like fucking around the corner from Solitude, right? Like, don't you like? Well, it's not the Solitude you go to necessarily in Skyrim, but like it's
but it's that rock formation
previous, and there's a fucking there's a lot of it that is very similar, the Blue Palace and all that kind of stuff. So
I was very confused because I knew this had some sort of tie into the Skyrim content, or the areas that you find in Skyrim, but to be like starting there and being like, oh, okay, I didn't like this is all right. We're just starting there, cool. But anyway, so I played a couple hours of that. Yeah, that game's really good still. Like, I think it's interesting that we've gone down this path of like a like nobody could really take on World of Warcraft. And so everybody's kind of been like, well, let's move our content to free to play and we'll have our premium based subscription where you can buy, I don't know, whether it's like bag space or things like that. So yeah, I don't like, I feel like people that haven't checked out Elder Scrolls Online definitely should if you're a fan of Skyrim, because it does a lot of good Skyrim or Elder Scrolls stuff. I never played any of the other Elder Scrolls games other than Skyrim, so I can't talk much to it there. But yeah, like I'm playing it in first person, feels like a Skyrim game to me. You just kind of, I'm using my dark elf abilities, where I'm using a sword and using magic, and it just feels really good. Like it feels like it's running like a first person game as opposed to a third person RPG, which is weird. I don't know how that'll change going forward, like as I progress, if it'll be more in line with like a Star Trek Online or a Star Wars The Old Republic or World of Warcraft. But at the moment it doesn't feel like a multiplayer MMO, like a RPG to me. It still feels like a first person Skyrim game. So yeah. Has that sort of been your experience with it, or are you playing in third person or?
I switch between the two depending on the scenario, but like there are only a few specific situations where you need multiplayer to really do anything. Like if you run across a fucking Harrowstorm, although you probably don't want to run into a Harrowstorm with your little fucking Bambino level 5 character. But if you were to do that, you'd get fucking walloped solo, unless you were like unbelievably good at the game. Like I don't think you can solo. I think there were. I vaguely remember while I was looking at it, like looking it up, there were people who were like two-manning the dragons from elsewhere, but like I don't think you could even solo dragons. So I doubt you'd be able to solo Harrowstorms, because Harrowstorms are basically the dragons of the Skyrim content, because they couldn't do dragons because they, it's in the fucking. Part of the main plot of fucking Skyrim is that the dragons. There are no fucking dragons in Skyrim.
Yeah. But now there are.
So, yeah. So yeah, you won't run into dragons, but you got these Harrowstorms. You need other people for that, basically. And obviously you've got the I can't remember what they're called in fucking the trials and fucking dungeons. You got dungeons and shit that you won't be able to solo. But by and large, The Elder Scrolls Online is a game you can play solo, like for days.
I just wish there was an option though,
solo
to be like, I want to play solo. Like, I don't want to see other players. I know it's an MMO, right? But at times, I just want to.
What are other players doing that detracts from your experience exactly?
Well, so I was literally doing the tutorial area, and there was another player doing the tutorial at the same time. I don't know why. Why would you be doing that? And so we were running the tutorial at the same time.
Why would you be doing that? Why would you be doing that? Why were you doing it?
You could have waited fucking 5 minutes later and then done the tutorial. Why do I have to be there?
How the fuck does he know?
Well,
he's probably sitting there in his dumb podcast complaining about the same shit.
And so we were running this dungeon, and then I'd kill something and he'd run forward and then kill something, and we were splitting off. We meet up, and then like I want to be killing these things, but every time I get there, like he's killed something, and then so he aggro's one thing, and then I run past him and fight the next thing. I don't want him in there or she. I'm like, nah, let me just kill my own things.
That's objectively a better experience. What the fuck are you talking about?
I'm getting less experience though. Like
it doesn't. It is like fucking. I'm getting one less drop in the fucking ocean.
Yeah.
Like absolutely inconsequential. Anyway, I guess as odd as your complaints are, they're like, I guess they make sense. Like I think they've worked very hard to make it so that you can play on your own entirely, but sadly you will always have to put up with other people existing in the world. Fucking
wow.
You're not ready for San Francisco to come out of lockdown, are you? You're like fucking things are pretty fucking sweet. And now there's other cunts around.
Yeah.
This is shit.
WoW. So WoW had that problem back in the days where you'd have to go and whatever it was, kill 20 of these things, and you'd get there and there's some other high level bastard that's killed everything and you've got to stand there and wait. They're not fixing that by having really quick respawn timers, especially on like the bosses where they'll come back in like 30 seconds as opposed to minutes it used to be. But then they also changed things up where you could just have like a toggle, be like, I want to do PV or I just want to do PvP, because they had split servers at a stage, but now it's just like a thing. Everybody's on the same server. If you want to play one way, then you do that. And I don't know if Elder Scrolls Online, because I haven't looked into it yet, has like a PvE/PvP button or anything like that. Because I just kind of want to play. I don't want to do the PvP stuff at all. I'm not really interested in that. I'm not going to go ganking people or
I haven't looked into it even a little bit because everything I read was that PvP was utterly useless from Australia. Apparently, like ping has a huge impact on it. So I just haven't even looked into it, but I presume I'm playing with a PVE flag turned on or something. Yeah, I don't know. I think it is opt-in PvP.
Cool.
Or maybe even specific zones only for PvP and not main pass stuff. But yeah, I've been thinking I haven't gotten to play Greymore yet since it launched. I played it only pre-launch, but I have been very close to jumping in. There are a bunch of storylines that I really want to check out, like to get to the bottom of the vampire stuff and the castle in Blackreach, the vampire castle in Blackreach. I really want to explore that and all that kind of stuff. So I'll jump in and give that a squeeze. What level are you?
Oh, not high, like 7 or 8, something like that.
Yeah, we'll probably play together. I mean, the good thing is it scales all mobs at all times in every zone.
Yeah.
So, like, ostensibly, with the exception of the fucking trials and dungeons, like you can go fucking anywhere and do any quest, which is very cool. But yeah, and we could party up despite being disparate levels, and it wouldn't matter either. Like we'd have, neither of us would notice, really. But yeah, because when we were playing in the preview build, I had a character who was halfway to cap, and some of the other players had full cap, and we like it literally didn't matter. It was good. Yeah, it's a good game. Like they've really, like, for Elder Scrolls fans, they've really fucking nailed the idea. They've got a really fucking good idea and they killed it. So yeah.
My one sort of bigger criticism is that I do not like the HUD. Like
me no.
Everything
me
is
too, man.
black and white, and you're like, what's my objective? No, is it the black one I'm going to, or is it the white one? And I sit on the map sometimes, and I click on things, I'm like, I don't know where I'm going. Like, I can't actually see it. Can't see it. Everything's black and white. It's it's a nightmare.
Like, legit fucking fix it with add-ons.
Yeah.
Add-on, like that was the worst thing about playing the fucking test build of that game, was that I'd spent all that time getting add-ons together so that I could enjoy fucking Elder Scrolls Online without wanting to fucking rip my eyeballs out like Sam Neill on the Event Horizon. And then I had to go, and none of the fucking add-ons working on the fucking test server. I'm like, for fuck's sake, we're back to this shit. Yeah. Truly one of the greatest burdens any man has ever carried, obviously. But anyway, yeah. So yeah. Elder Scrolls Online.
Yeah, cool. The other game I've been playing is Polybridge 2. I got a code for this. Did you ever play the original game at all, Polybridge?
Yeah, I didn't love it, if I'm being honest. I remember you spoke about it quite a bit, or maybe Jung too.
I played it once, yeah.
Maybe Jung spoke about it at length. But I didn't love it. I didn't go fucking wild for it. I played it a bit. Like I guess I got it. I just,
yeah,
you know, it was kind of goofy, and I think that was part of the charm, but I just never found myself in the right headspace for that particular style of goofiness.
Yeah.
But you've been playing the second?
So the second one, Polybridge is a bridge building simulator, where you're, I guess, completing a series of puzzles, and you're given materials and it's like a objective to complete. Sometimes it might be get this bike from one side of the screen to the other, and there'll be like a river in between. You've got to build a bridge to try and get them there. And you've only got a certain amount of money that you can use, or a certain amount of resources, whether it's like road or wood or types of pillars, and you got to get this thing from one side to the other, complete the task in the allocated budget, and that's what you do. Like a series, each puzzle is kind of a little bit differently. Sometimes they'll throw up different vehicles that are different weights, and so the bridge has to be set up structured differently in order to hold all the load. Otherwise, things will just break, and that's not good. And so this one, it's got a couple of different changes that they've put in. So the first one was released in 2016. This one has just come out about 2 weeks ago, and one of the first things that I've noticed is that they've got like a better diagnostic tool system. So when your bridge actually breaks, you can get a good idea of where it's breaking, and like, oh, this is actually where the load is struggling, or where the structure is kind of falling apart. Before, you kind of just have to have a really good, like a keen eye and know where this is happening. So now it like highlights pieces on the actual bridge and will show you like this is a breaking point. And it does things like it'll show you on the structure, like the amount of load that it's taking up to 100%. And so if it goes over that load, it's obviously going to break. So yeah, better diagnostic tools. It's added in some new structural abilities, things like springs, which is like dampens the load once an actual like something is on the structure. So I can do things like jumps. You could have like a ramp, jump off a cliff, and have it land on the other side of this level, and try not to break the bridge with the load. Like have it be a bit springy so that it can land, and then keep rolling. And so it'll throw in puzzles like, oh, you've only got $15,000 to try and make this bridge. You can't actually do it from one end to the other, so you got to try and make a jump, and then use these springs to try and solve that problem. So that's in there. Updated physics system, leaderboards, which are really cool. What I like about that is you can either see your friends' leaderboards, how they've performed, how other people in the world have like completed this mission or this task. It'll show you like their budget, how much they used. But the other cool thing is like it shows you like 3 random people's how they completed it. As soon like on the actual completion screen, you can just be like, oh, I'll click on this person, and it starts playing a video like instantly of how they've completed it. And so it gives you a really good idea of how to solve these problems. And for the most part, every time I watch one of these videos, they are completely different from the way that I've solved it. Whether it's like using different like building materials, or they've found some weird glitchy bug thing where the physics have wonked out. It's just like really interesting to see how other people have like solved the same problem that you have in a completely different way. And that's really cool, because it means you start learning more about the game and how you can do a lot of this stuff. Because that is probably my one big criticism about it, is I do not like the way the game teaches you how to build stuff. Starts off pretty early, like with a decent tutorial, like this is how you do stuff. But a couple of levels in, it kind of just forgets that, and then you don't really know what you're doing. It'll be like, hey, here's springs, and it comes up with like a one sheet being like, here's what springs do, like on the text, and it'll give you 3 lines of like, this is what springs are for, and it's just kind of like, all right, now use them, and you don't really know how to use them. Like where should you set them up on this bridge, or like how should they be set up? So I spent like a good 20-30 minutes on this one level just getting absolutely nowhere, because I'm like, I do not understand where I should be doing these, like where I should be putting the springs. Every time I seem to like put them somewhere, the bridge just breaks automatically every time anything lands on this structure. And so you end up resorting to going on like YouTube and looking at how other people have solved it and being like, oh, okay, like that makes sense now. So I did that like 2 or 3 times over the sort of 15 levels that I played so far. So I think that's one area of improvement that they could sort of fix that, because when you're playing a game like this, you kind of want to be shown how something works, and then later on make it so that it's a little bit harder and harder as you progress. Whereas this just kind of shows you like, here's a new tool, and figure it out yourself. And you're like, all right, well, I guess I'd fuck around with this for half an hour, and maybe I'll get it, and maybe I won't.
It's that thing about language that I spoke about a little while ago. You know, the idea of learning the language of a game, and once you're fluent in the language, you're able to really experiment and do things. But if all they do is teach you the fucking alphabet and then expect you to work it out from there, you wind up in this situation where it's very difficult to feel confident enough to experiment. Yeah.
So that's probably my one biggest criticism about it is I wish there was some better tutorials or like better hand holding for people that maybe aren't familiar with the first game, or like I don't know if this stuff was in the first game and they've kind of just assumed that people are like, oh, they'll know how. Well, they can't, because these springs are a new addition. So yeah, that's it's just bad tutorial systems in there. And so having to look up how people are doing those solutions, because like a tutorial, like how do you do that? And it just kind of seemed to be videos of people just figuring it out for themselves, like trying one thing and not working, and then trying something else and oh, that works. So yeah, I just wish that was a little bit better. But otherwise, I really like that there is a system in the game where you can finish a level and it just brings it straight up. It's like, hey, you can watch replay of your level, or here's 3 other people, or you can click on the leaderboard and download their video. And it's not like it sits there and it takes a little bit of time to download. The screen comes up, you just press play, and off it goes. So I think that is really smart to show people like how they have solved that problem. You're talking about this what was it, Zombie Night Terror game. It'd be like that, where you finish a level and then it's like, hey, do you want to see how someone else finished it, or they completed like their puzzle? I like that idea of showing you.
It'd be so useful.
Yeah, and it means that you can learn more about interesting ways that you didn't know you could do this stuff, and possibly use that at a later time. So I think that stuff's really cool. They've got a bunch of like a workshop system in there now, so you can create your own like campaigns, which is really nice. And the other thing is Twitch integration support, so you can work with, if you're a streamer or you like watching streamers who play this game, you can work together to solve these puzzles. So that stuff is really cool. Like I don't know, as someone who's not a Polybridge original sort of expert, I really don't know how it sort of compares to the two, but there's definitely some interesting features that they've added into this game that sort of makes it a bit better to use. But it's definitely a harder, like a hard puzzle game. You've got to sit there and put time into it, and it's you creating structures and architecture and putting the right pieces of planks in the right joints, and making sure everything's going to be able to structurally be intact when you get from one side to the other. But then there's this weird, like, people creating these crazy elaborate solutions
like
to
puzzles.
Loops
and
where
bouncing shit.
I saw one where it was like a fucking catapult, basically, where like a bike rode onto this structure and it just flung them across, and I'm like, all right, fair enough. And that was like level 3 or something. I'm like, all right, okay, that's awesome. So I like seeing that sort of stuff. It's really cool, the type of things you can do with this type of game. And it seems to have a really good community behind it. There's a lot of people that are always playing it. So yeah, that one is Polybridge 2. It's out now on Steam, and I believe it's 15 US at the moment. Yeah,
as well.
EGS.
Cool.
So yeah, Polybridge. I'll probably keep playing it. I haven't spent a ton of time in it so far, but it's kind of like my it was my podcast game this week.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Let's do Panoptic. I spoke about this a little while ago. We played it. It's the game where one person is a VR eye and the other person is a little dude trying to go around and I don't know, destroy some crystals.
Okay. Yeah.
Played a bit more on the weekends, and Yeah, I think it's such a well executed game. There's obviously stuff I think it desperately needs, and it's early access, so I'm sure that will come. But yeah, the idea of that asymmetrical same room multiplayer, I think is something that VR, could really benefit from, because it's the sort of thing that will give people an excuse to show it off. So I had friends around, and yeah, I was just like, they were like, "Oh, are there any cool VR games?" I'm like, "Well, I
Half-Life,
don't want.
Alex. Here you go.
I don't want to show you Half-Life Alex, the most disappointing game to ever fucking come out." But no, I'm kidding. I don't want to show you Half-Life Alex because it's a bit I think it's a broader experience. I guess I could just load up the Jeff level and let him go, but I think there's a little bit of
Take some time to get going.
you have to, and you have to understand how movement and stuff works in that game. It's not as simple as I guess Beat Saber, right?
Yeah.
Where you just sort of fucking hit things. But Panoptic, yeah, it just sort of makes sense. They worked it out real quick. It was, they started, and that was it. That's all I needed. It worked. It's good. There's a lot of clever stuff that the idea that you aim with your eye as opposed to aiming by shooting is like, there's multiple layers to what that achieves. When you aim with your, aim by looking, people's heads don't stay perfectly still all the time, Like, we're not chickens. We don't have fucking stabilizers in our heads. So people, even if you're staring at something, there will be tiny movements that over a large enough distance can create a significant amount of spread in your aiming. So you're looking at something, and if that's your main aim mechanism, and you've only got one shot, and there's a 4-second reload after that shot, it can be quite difficult to actually hit that shot. So there's a little bit of complexity in it that makes being the eye, when you work out who the little person is, right, as the eye, it's not over for them. There's a chance that there's a halfway decent chance that you'll miss. And so because you miss, the fucking red laser zap that comes from the eye shooting at you, just barely missing over your shoulder. That's heart pounding in and of itself. Right. And then there's the fact that that they're onto you, and you got to fucking run and get to cover and try to hide again and reassimilate. So there's all that kind of stuff. Plus, yeah, there's the panic from the fucking eye of trying to actually hit their fucking shots, and they know they've only probably got one more shot before the little person gets to cover. If they miss, so they miss that first shot, and they're waiting for the recharge, and then they got to charge the gun, and then they fire, and there's that panic creates a little extra variance for some people, and so yeah, it winds up being this extremely exciting, thrilling experience, and extremely entertaining. And then, but the other thing that adds is it's a game where you want to keep your fucking hands by your sides, because if you were shooting like it was a gun, you would be thrusting, you'd be turning around with your fucking hands out, and you're in the same room as someone, you would hit them in the fucking head. I would be protected by this thing, but you might, if it was a hard enough fucking spin around, you might get fucking whacked in the head. And yeah, so there's there's a lot of clever shit going on in that game, that makes it a very interesting experience. But yeah, anyway, yeah, that's about it. I don't know. You should check it out. See what your wife thinks. My wife really enjoys it. I think she likes being Yeah, she likes being the eye.
Yeah.
More than being the little person. I think that I guess it's very easy for me to tell. As the eye, it's very easy for me to moving is not natural for her. In a game, like with a WASD, and for the friends for whom it's not natural. My moving WASD is fucking second nature, but for them it takes some fucking doing, so they're not used to playing games that way. They're playing on a controller and stuff like that. Yeah, so I think that I don't know, may change things a little. It's easier, because as the eye, what you're looking for is those anything out of the ordinary from the little bots. I think I think what would be really interesting is if Panoptic were to model the little bot behavior on the movement of players. Like if it learned how players moved and then modeled its behavior based on that. So if it because one of the easiest ways to tell if a player is doing something is if you see if the little dude strafe, because you almost never, very fucking rarely, see the little dudes, the AI little dudes, strafe.
Right, they kind of just go on in a line.
Exactly, they always go straight forward. But because there's no way to fucking look around without turning your head, often the only way to make forward momentum is to strafe while looking. If you want to see what the fucking eye is looking at any one point in time, yeah, it's you fucking strafing while fucking looking at the fucking, and if you happen to do it just as the fucking eye looks at you, you're like, well, I'm cooked. Yeah, you fucking boned. But if there were some way to if more of the AI strafed, or if more of the AI did weird things like running for I don't know, 2 seconds or some shit to test out what the fucking shift button is and stuff like that, which I definitely saw happen. Yeah, I think it would be a little harder to definitively tell when players were playing. And I think because of the nature of the game, because of the party nature of the game, it's probably one where you want as many different different types of AI movement as possible. Anyway, good stuff.
Yeah,
Panoptic.
nice. I feel like the only thing that's sort of the negative aspect of that is that it seems like an expensive game for what it is at the moment. It's like 15 US.
15 US
17
seems like an
US.
expensive
Yeah.
game. Right. Didn't you try to argue that some fucking 40 game fucking shit was fucking totally worth it the other fucking week?
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Just in comparison to some of the other games I've played, I feel like it's a tad expensive because it was only like 3 levels or something, right? Or have they added more?
Star Trek Bridge Crew. How much was that? Oh, that was fucking 11 or some shit. Damn it.
Yeah,
I was
amazing.
so fucking.
Totally worth it.
I was G'd up. I was ready to rock on that one. Fuck. Look, I don't know. Whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Well, I don't know what their sort of their plan is going forward, but it's still in early access. So.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
There's a way to go yet. Yes, cool. There hasn't been an update in a little while.
Yeah, seems like 6 or 7 months. They've taken their money and left.
4 months.
Okay, fair enough.
All right. Command Conquer Remastered.
Yeah.
So this came out last week and has taken the world by storm. I think it's got fucking crazy.
Tiberium Storm? No.
Anyway, it seems extremely popular. It's getting like really good reviews and shit, which I find quite interesting. Mostly people are like extremely impressed by how faithful it is. A rendition of the fucking original games. It's both Command and Conquer and Red Alert. It includes all of the the FMV cutscenes and all that kind of stuff. The full campaign. It is a pure HD remaster. Like extremely pure. There aren't quality of life improvements in this motherfucker. There's no like fucking, hey, we fixed all this shit that everyone fucking hated all the time. This is straight up. You can press the space bar and you can see for yourself that we made this game look way better. And that's it. And
I made it work.
And they made it work, yeah.
The new multiplayer stuff, I'm assuming they've got in there.
Like not. I think it's just functioning multiplayer, lobbies and stuff, But they haven't impacted the gameplay at all. Like it is how it used to play.
Yeah.
And people are fucking about it. And I gotta be honest, I am not. And it's not. It's purely because it turns out, and this is exactly the same problem I had with fucking Age of Empires. Everything I loved about the Command and Conquer games and Red Alert games was from fucking 2. Is from the second game in the series, not the fucking first one. Generally speaking, I didn't like the first one. Generally speaking, first games in those series were a little bit shit.
Amazing.
Like a little bit shit. Obviously phenomenal executions on an idea, but I always bring this up, but come back to the old Seinfeld isn't funny concept where everything that these games have done has now been done better everywhere else.
In Boneworks.
Hey?
In Boneworks. You saw it in Boneworks
in
first.
Boneworks. That's what it was. You fucking turd. Yeah, everything you've seen done has been done better, but everything, like, it seems to be generally, it's almost like back in the day, like sequels for games were just a real good chance to expand on an idea. Meanwhile, like sequels for games these days are these, completely different fucking games. Like fucking, you go from Wildlands to Breakpoint, and I guess they're vaguely similar, but like significantly different in their execution. And every new Call of Duty, every year a new Call of Duty is a completely different fucking game by a different studio. And I know Battlefield 1 to Battlefield 5, like very often, the sequel is a wildly different concept. But back in the day, Command and Conquer 2, what they did was they took Command and Conquer.
You're talking about
Red
Alert, not Command and Conquer 2.
I'm sorry?
You're talking about Command and Conquer and Red Alert, not Command and Conquer 2.
No, I'm talking about Command and Conquer 2.
Tiberian Sun?
2. Yeah.
Really?
Like, it's still a better game. I played the fuck out of that game. Get the fuck out of here. We played the shit out of that game. If
Red Alert or Tiberian Sun? I'm very confused because Red Alert is amazing.
Red Alert 1 is not amazing. Red Alert 2 is amazing. This is exactly what I'm fucking talking about. Tiberian Sun is way better than Command and Conquer 1, right? And Red Alert 2 is way better than Red Alert 1, right? Way better. That's like the entire point I'm making is that they took Command and Conquer and they made Command and Conquer 2 and they made it significantly better. They significantly improved the concept, right? I don't give a shit about how you feel about the concept of Tiberium as a fucking function in the game, right? It is a better execution of what they were attempting to do in Command and Conquer. And I think a lot of people would argue that Command and Conquer was simply a better execution of what they were trying to do in Dune 2, but it's not really, what I'm getting at here, right? Like, there is so many quality of life improvements between Command and Conquer 2 and Red Alert and Red Alert 2. Red Alert 2 shits on Red Alert. Shits on it.
But does Red Alert 2 shit on Tiberian Sun?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Red Alert as a series shits on Command and Conquer, right? Like, the only reason people fondly remember the Command and Conquer series is Generals, obviously, and Red Alert, in my opinion, right? If Red Alert had never existed, Command and Conquer Generals wouldn't have been made, and if Command and Conquer Generals didn't get made, I reckon most of the people who've looked back fondly on Command and Conquer would not fucking remember the fucking thing.
I feel like I liked Red Alert series more than Command and Conquer. It went there. It went everyone did. Stupid. Like, it took the cheesiness of Command and Conquer and was like, just turned it up, kept cranking it.
Exactly. Right? Like, it was not afraid to get goofy with it.
Yeah.
And Red Alert 2 is purely a better execution of the Red Alert concept. But that's it. Played a bunch of games on the weekend with JB, Johnny Bravo, and Grey Squirrel. We were playing Turtle Rules. I had a clock on my phone to tell us when 10 minutes were up, and once 10 minutes were up, that's when you're allowed to attack, and you weren't allowed to attack before then. But we're playing on the biggest maps we could find, and the last map we played, we went all random. I personally, you could like click on a little button and you'd select a spot to go. I personally thought we should be selecting spots as far away as from one another as possible, but no, that Squirrel and fucking JB insisted on doing full random, and it bit them deep in the ass because it dumped them right next to one another.
Yeah,
and put me on the opposite side of the map. So I had free reign to do whatever the fuck I wanted, they fought. They like full blown blew up the truce. Johnny Bravo was like, I think they were sharing a ore harvester field. Because they'd been dumped right next to each other, they were sharing the same ore harvesting field. I obviously had access to about 17 different fucking ore harvesting fields to myself, but they were sharing the same one. And Johnny Bravo felt very strongly that he had entire, pure jurisdiction over this ore harvesting field. And so he felt he had the right to defend it at all costs, which the rules of the truce, I personally think he broke the rules of the truce, the 10-minute truce, because he was attacking Squirrel's harvesters inside that ore. And his argument was that he should be allowed to defend his ore. But I just don't agree. If someone wants to flouts the rules of the turtle 10-minute timer, then by sending harvesters at your ore, fucking punish them later by bombing the fuck out of them first. Do not break the truce. That said, I did let it go because it worked pretty well for my own. It was extremely beneficial for wasting their resources while I was allowed to do whatever the fuck I wanted down the bottom of the fucking map. Anyway, Squirrel got wiped out pretty early. I had multiple bases, and then Johnny Bravo came marching down to me, and The moment it all fell apart for me was when I sent my giant army to Johnny Bravo to wipe him out, and I think it was about 3/4 of my giant army decided that they couldn't go over the bridge that was very close to Johnny Bravo. They needed to go around because the AI pathfinding in this game is dog shit. It is heinous, and they've done nothing, absolutely nothing, to fix it. And like all the little things that were fucking me constantly, like fucking selecting everyone and then fucking right-clicking somewhere to tell them to go somewhere, and then remembering I have to fucking left-click to make them go places because they haven't, they right-click deselects for whatever reason because it's a 30-year-old game and blah, blah, blah. All that kind of little shit. That was okay, and I was getting over it. It was sort of just Age of Empires. But this dicked me deep because I sent 1/4 of my fucking army to their fucking deaths. It was a suicide mission. They just fucking streamed in and died. And then, so after I did that, the other 3/4, the path to Johnny Bravo's army was a tank wide. Right. So they literally streamed in to death. They literally streamed into death. They just died. Like, I just watched them fucking die. And I couldn't do anything about them. I was just fucked. I couldn't, I'm sitting there microing my fucking tits off. And in this situation, microing is yelling at the fucking monitor because none of these motherfuckers will do what I want them to. They split up. Like, when they worked out they could only go single file and there was a fucking backlog of cunts sitting behind the fucking mountain, half of them decided to go around the mountain. That fucked me even more. They drove basically to my other fucking base. I'm like, don't go there. Don't go to the other base. The other base is the only way I get away with this shit. But no. So JB, who has, a smaller fucking army than I do, but they're all together, so they're just murdering nonstop, and I'm sending my dudes in fucking 3 at a time, right? JB sort of splits off. He can afford to split his army off. He can afford to micro and split his army off a bit to take care of the dudes who are off to the fucking left. He's just getting closer and closer to my second base. I'm like, no, please don't. Just leave the second base alone. Just please think it was bad. And I'm like, oh, we're in Discord together. I'm like, oh, the pathfinding's so bad. It sent them all the way around the mountain. And I'm like, please believe that it was just there's nothing else over there. Don't go any further. Just fucking get bored. Get bored with those guys around the fucking, and I sent them back. I sent them back to my own base because he, sort of marched into my base at that point. So I sent him back around, but it didn't fucking matter, right? I don't know. So I got fucked by pathfinding, and it was extremely aggravating. And then I lost, and I just sort of surrendered. I couldn't even find a surrender button, but I just sort of I lose. I had my second base, and I still had a fucking very robust economy because the second base had shitloads of trucks. But it was just so annoying. And because of the way I'd constructed my second base, I didn't have there wasn't a lot of space for shit. I had another MCV driving up, and it was going to park where Squirrel's base had been. So I probably could have dragged this dumb game out for fucking hours, but it was lunchtime. It was very annoying. It was very annoying for it to go down like that. And then, but I think the worst part was that, just all this shit I remember from Red Alert, from playing multiplayer Red Alert, just didn't exist in this game. It just wasn't there. There were no fucking, was it Tesla towers? Is it Tesla cannons? And all this kind of stuff. There was none of that. It was just sort of,
they had the guard towers and advanced guard towers.
Yeah.
I think.
And you were like a lot of those games bleed together a lot for me. But yeah, I was not having any, like, I was like, okay, well, I think what I need to do is I need to build that doesn't exist. I can't build that. Okay, I don't really know what I'm going to do then. And so I was just sort of building whatever I could to try to, and then sending them one at a time to their fucking death.
Yeah.
It was aggravating. They, like, the least they could have done is fix the fucking AI, the pathfinding AI. You know, like, I understand you want to preserve the blah blah blah, the sanctity of the game, but fucking come on. The absolute least you could have done is fixed one of the worst pathfinding AIs in video games, because holy shit, it was infuriating. Yeah, they were just never capable of doing what I told them to do. I couldn't work, like, by the end. One of the other things that nearly gave my second base game away was that my harvesters, I couldn't get them to, like, dump their ore at the new refinery as their home base. They dump at the new refinery over in my second base, and then they would, like, fuck off again. Like, they would do that for one time. I'd have to specifically tell them, but then they would revert to their original fucking. I couldn't work out how to. I don't know. I don't know. Right. It was very annoying. Anyway, yeah. If you're looking for an unbelievably faithful rendition of two extremely old games, I suppose Command and Conquer Remastered would be the game for you. But I've got to be fucking frank with you. I do not think it's what you want. People are just fucking about it, right? Like, the Command and Conquer Remaster is just excellent, right? Alex from Kotaku. All right, fair enough. Yeah, I don't know. It just feels like nostalgia, like trading purely on nostalgia, and I just think, there could be more than that.
Do you think they keep going and do the next lot, or this is it?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I'm like, I'm just not about nostalgia, but I would play the fuck out of. I very much hope that they do.
Red Alert,
the Command and Conquer 2 and Red Alert 2. Yeah, that'd be fucking awesome.
Yeah,
I would play the fuck out of that. And I've been trying to work out how they do generals, right? Because you can't do generals straight up. Like, you can remaster generals and make it look good. And, like, to be honest, you can just play generals on Origin right now. We've done it. It's fun. But I do not think it's kind of vaguely racist, and I do not think that you could get away with it. And I think you would have to make some pretty significant changes to the GLA to get away with that game. My thought, my idea is that you turn all the GLA characters into hillbillies, like American hillbillies, like rednecks. And
so what do they need other than shoes now? What are they asking for?
No, that they still need shoes. They just they just still need shoes. Like, you don't have to change the lines or anything. Right. They just, you
do need to change the lines.
Hey y'all, we need shoes.
Yeah, like, I think that's still fucking works, I mean, the text can stay the same, but they need to change the voiceover.
That's what I'm saying, right? Like, yeah, you got to change the voicing 100%, but I think the script itself can stay the same. And change it to I believe they're called the Y'all Kaeda. Do it that way. That's my theory on how they do generals. And
did we play Generals 2, or was that a different game? I can't remember. At E3.
Generals 2, was that the mobile game?
No, it was I don't. It was definitely a PC game. It was
Right.
a Command and Conquer PC game that was free to play that I played at E3 one year. It never got released. They cancelled it, but I had
Right.
played it, and I feel like it was Generals 2.
I didn't play it. Maybe it was one of the years where you went and I
Yeah,
didn't.
right. It was either Generals 2 or the other game that's in this list is called Tiberium Alliances, but I don't think that was it. I feel like it was Generals. Anyway, where I'm going with this is, did you ever play Renegades?
Yeah, fuck yeah, I played
Yeah,
Renegades.
I played a bunch of that on Game Arena back in the day.
Yep.
I had a lot of fun with that game. I think there's kind of two ways you can bring Command and Conquer back. Either try and do a faithful RTS, or you go down the Generals route and give like Dice a crack at, or one of Dice's side studios a crack at Renegade 2, or not even call it Renegade 2, just something else, but have it a first person Command and Conquer
Yep.
game. Because we're at the
Yep.
stage now where we can have hundreds of people playing in a server at the same time.
Yep.
I think that'd be sick. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. There was a Renegades mod for, I think it was like Crisis back in the day, that was always really fucking like you had to organize like on the forums to actually get a game going. But yeah, once you got it going, because it was all, I think they left the server always running, but there was basically nobody ever playing it. But if
Yeah.
you like told everyone to play on the Game Arena forums at a certain time, they would all jump in. The other thing, I think it was Crisis Renegades, maybe, or I gotta check. I gotta find out what CNC Reborn, I think it was. But yeah, there was that one, and the other one was the Mech Warrior Living Legends mod for Crisis.
Yeah.
Those two, we could always get some fucking servers popping. It was good. Crisis was fucking good for mods. Yeah, no, I would love to, instead of fucking Battlefield 6 and doing it in modern times, which is the very strong rumor for what EA are going to announce next week. I'd love to see them fucking do Renegades instead. I reckon that'd be fucking cool. The people are high on Command and Conquer at the moment, so fucking why not?
Yeah.
Capitalize.
Like they've done interesting things with Battlefront. Like you could take some of those elements, chuck it in there.
Yeah.
And I've got ideas. If they want to come talk to me,
just
pitching some stuff.
Hire us.
Yeah. But yeah, just the way that sort of online games are going with tons and tons of players, I think it'd work really interestingly. You could just have some cool gameplay events happen with that sort of player count. Because there hasn't been a Command Conquer game in, it looks like, about 10 years. Like a proper.
What was the mobile game?
Rivals. No, proper. Not a mobile game. It's been a while. And we played Tiberian Twilight a while back. And I remember they were doing some weird things with the style, like the gameplay of that was very, I don't think it was MOBA like, but it was weird. Like you had moving bases or something, I can sort of remember. I just remember playing it and being like, this does not feel like a Command and Conquer game. It's really awkward. I think that was Tiberium Twilight. Yeah, it must have been. Anyway, cool. That sounds exciting. Yeah, I think they're going to do something else. They must, because it's gained a lot of good criticism. It seems like it's selling well. So
yeah,
kind of makes sense for them to keep going with it.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, what else you got?
GTFO. I played this last night with one of the developers, and it's a very cool game. It's a 4-player co-op a horror heist game, I guess you might call it. So it's a game created from like by a bunch of core team members from the Payday series. And yeah, it's you're a prisoner sent into this nightmarish underground facility, and you are tasked with acquiring some items and then extracting, I guess, getting out again. And it's 4-player co-op. It is very punishing, very complex. Described by one of the developers as hardcore, and it's tough. It's a tough game, but it's a lot of fun. I had a lot of fucking fun playing this game. It is, you land, you open a door, and you're confronted by a bunch of these sleeper characters. If they wake up, they'll attack you en masse, and you got to kill them. And it's not that hard to kill them. It's not that difficult to kill them, but I guess the trick with GTFO is that it's a game where like every single resource counts. Like every single bullet you've got, you desperately need, and every bit of health is something you won't have later and stuff like that. And yeah, you got to sort of like weigh up your options and balance your ability against I guess any failure points. And then once you've concocted a plan, you attempt to enact it, and then you move on to the next room. And in this case, what we wound up doing is we had you got these hammers by default, and you sort of walk up and you try to time it perfectly. And if you can do it, you're standing next to these sleepers, and sort of like what happens is they'll like glow, and if they're glowing, they'll recognize any nearby movement. So you know it's a game of statue basically. And if they start to flash and glow, that means they've recognized movement nearby and they're about to wake up. And if you don't immediately halt, they will fucking wake up and attack, and they'll wake up everyone else as well, and they'll attack. So you move up, you get in position, you stand right next to them, playing this game of statue, and then on the count of 3, everyone fucking wallops them in the fucking head and they die. And if you all do it perfectly, they'll die, and then you can move on to the next group of sleepers. And in this initial room, it was mad crotch punch. I think there were fucking 11 of these cunts. So like our initial fucking like experience in this fucking game was we had to kill 11 of these fuckers. And I think we got 3 dead fine, and one of the people in our group whiffed their fucking hit. And if you don't hit them in the head, or you do body damage instead, and body damage doesn't kill them instantly, but it does wake them up. And so it woke them up, and they woke up and woke up everyone else. And so then we'd killed 3, so we still had 8 to go. And we'd set up a contingency if that happened, and that's what the game is built around, is preparing for the worst, I guess. And that sort of reminds me of Payday in a lot of ways as well. Like in Payday, you would attempt to do a stealth version of a heist, and you'd go in and you'd take out a camera, you'd take out a guard, you'd like solve these minute situations one at a time, and then you'd have people ready for if everything went to shit. And if the alarm went off, that's it. The alarm went off, and you do what you could, and you get the fuck out. But if it didn't go off, you'd escape quietly, and everything be cool. And yeah, that was Payday. In this, it's very similar. You know, if you get in, you smash the fucking sleeper brains, you can move on to the next room. Everything's cool. If it doesn't, if the sleepers wake up, if the alarm goes off, you got to fucking deal with it, and that's about it. The difference is it sort of resets room to room. So when the alarm goes off, when the sleepers wake up, it doesn't wake up the entire fucking facility. It just wakes up everyone in that room, and you've just got to fucking deal with those people in that room. So you've got these self-contained situations, these self-contained stealth situations where if you fail at one piece of stealth, you haven't failed at stealth for the rest of the mission. You then move on to the next area and try again. And yeah, it's very cool in the way it allows you to sort of reset. And that too allows you to sort of compartmentalize your contingency plans. So in the case of this first room with 11 motherfuckers in it, we had like trip mines down, and the idea was if they were to wake up, we would run back behind the trip mines, and they would run through them, and we'd be like, they'd explode, and we'd be relatively safe. Unfortunately, I ran through the trip mine at the same time. I was a little bit further out than everyone else, and so I ran through a trip mine at the same time as one of them, and I got exploded. So I went down in the very first fucking fight, which was quite embarrassing. I thought it was Nate who triggered it, because I was trying to run outside. I didn't want to run through the laser. I wasn't sure if there was friendly fire or not. But Nate just sort of belted straight through the fucking laser, and I thought he had triggered it. On review of the footage, it turns out, yeah, I just basically run through at exactly the same time as a fucking monster. But yeah, it was like fucking hilarious. But yeah, like we were immediately on the back foot after that. You know, like that takes you from 100% health to 0 immediately, and you only get back to 20%. So it was basically the worst possible start for this fucking run. And then we continued on from there, and it's got like, you've got to like, we had to acquire this MacGuffin and then take it back to the extraction area, and you start off in like room 101, and you move, and the MacGuffin is in, I think in our case it was in like room 105, and so we had to move room to room, and each room has rooms spreading off from it, and you don't have like a direct path. You don't know exactly where you need to go. You just know, like, you need to go to room 105. You don't even know you need to go to room 105 in the first place. You got to go to like a computer terminal, and you query MacGuffin MacGuffin number 11, and then you go and you work out, okay, so rooms 106 and 7 are this way, and room 103 and 5 are this way, so we're going to go this way, and then you move through there, and then you get through the next door, and there's a fucking, like, the door to 105 needs a fucking yellow key card, and so you need to find the yellow key card. You query where that is. It's in room 104. You go there, ping it, you like fucking hunt it down, get the key card, go to room 105, get to the item, and then try to extract. But the entire time you're doing these things, you're going through these minor stealth scenarios. You need to, clear out the room first. You need to look for resources. Because I'd fucking died immediately, I needed a health kit pretty quickly. So our priority was scavenging for a fucking health kit. And then we get to a door that has an alarm on it. The alarm will summon monsters, basically, like attract monsters from all over until we like disable the alarm, basically. And once we disable the alarm, we can move on, but we have to be careful to make sure we've cleared out any other monsters behind us first, because otherwise we'll get fucked in the back and in the front. And there's a lot of fucking steps, and there's a lot of like, I know I need to query MacGuffin. I don't know like which MacGuffin. So I'm like typing, and like like it's a computer terminal. It's a full like terminal. You got like, you can type help and get a list of help. You can type commands, get a list of commands. Query MacGuffin _ Hey, which MacGuffin do we need? We need 11. Okay. MacGuffin _ 11. It's in room 105. I convey this to the other guys, and there's a lot of, it's very heavily communication based, which makes it extremely fun but very complex. And I think that they were talking about how it's firmly a 4-player experience, and they have no interest in making it any less than that. They've got no interest in making bots because it doesn't really go with the philosophy of how the fucking game plays, and they've got not really any interest in balancing it for fewer players or anything like that. It's a game that's built for 4 players. I think that might be the only real failure point for it, because it's a very complex game, and I think about the teams that we play as a group of 4, and I think I would get quite frustrated playing this with our regular groups of 4. There are only a couple of people where I would feel like, I think about playing Deep Rock Galactic, right? Another co-op 4-player game where you go get shot deep into the fucking dirt, go down deep into something, and then you fucking get a MacGuffin and you get to the extraction point, right? And I think about that game, and I think about the people I was playing that with, Drew, Dr. E3 Money, Baz, and Praetorian, and I think I could probably play GTFO with Dr. E3 and Baz. And I think I know where Praetorian lives, and I would fucking murder him in his sleep if I played GTFO with him, because he has, there are moments where that motherfucker, listeners, if you're not subscribed to Heath's fucking YouTube channel, subscribe to Heath Dixon's YouTube channel. Former podcast host and current head injury haver, Heath Dixon. About 90% of his videos are tedious, terribly boring renditions of him driving around a fucking racetrack and not getting any fucking positions. But every now and then he'll post literally comedy gold, like champagne comedy. Like the other day when he posted playing fucking SnowRunner, a video of playing SnowRunner with Praetorian, and Praetorian, after Heath has spent fucking 25 minutes driving a fucking pallet of bricks across the fucking country, Praetorian pulls his fucking truck out right before Heath is driving. It's literally at the fucking depot. They're driving at the fucking depot, and Praetorian just pulls his truck out in front. Yeah, and the bricks fall off, and that's it. They've just pissed away all that fucking effort, and it turns out Praetorian just wasn't paying attention at that moment. He just hadn't, he was just doing his own thing, and he didn't notice. And when you see this video, I think the video has fucking 100 or so views on YouTube, and I reckon 90 of those views are fucking me. I watched that fucking, oh my lord!
You uninstalled the game. You didn't even have it.
I don't even own it, and I uninstalled it in fucking sympathy. Holy shit! The Deep Rock Galactic crew, 3 of us could play GTFO together, and one of us would be a critical failure point so fucking significant that I might quit playing video games forever. I just don't that's the thing, right? Sea of Thieves, right? Playing with Racy, the worst pirate of all time, right? Is a lot of fun. And Sea of Thieves game that has a lot of fucking moving parts and is ultimately quite complex. I actually think Racy would probably go pretty well in GTFO because I think it's quite measured and slow paced. And I think the times where Racy becomes the worst pirate ever are in those high tension moments where he should be not running us to the ground, but instead he's decided to just sort of let us run into a fucking island. But like, that's fucking hilarious. That shit's fun, and I don't think that stuff would be fun in GTFO, right? It's certainly funny when things go to shit in almost any game, right? And I think GTFO is a game built around those exciting moments when everything goes to shit and you have to pull together to deal with it. But I think what GTFO requires is a degree of competence, and I think the stakes on a moment-to-moment basis are too high in GTFO for it to really allow you to carry someone who is like not entirely incompetent. Like Praetorian is certainly capable of playing very well in Deep Rock Galactic, and there are moments where he like full-blown carries and stuff. But those moments where he's clearly paying zero attention and just so happens to like fuck the entire team are, you can't have any of those. Like there's no like, there isn't breathing space in GTFO. Like I guess once you've cleared out a room there is, but like if that lapse in attention happens before a room has been fully cleared, like you're cooked. Like, and you can write off every single part of a run. Like it will be gone. Resources are so fucking hard to come by, and you are so devastated by any mistake that, yeah, like it would be like, I think it'd be like if you were playing, I don't know, fucking Sekiro. You're trying to fight the last boss in Sekiro, and every single player had to beat the last boss in Sekiro. And if anyone failed, all of you failed. Like, I think that would be unbelievably frustrating. And yeah, I don't know. I think that's particularly like I was playing with Nate, and Nate and I fucking work well together. I think you and I would work well together in GTFO. I think we could find a fourth, but at the same time, the necessity for a fourth is like a really big ask. I think, you know, it's a very big ask. And when the alternative is you could just play Deep Rock Galactic where it doesn't matter all that much and you just sort of make fun of the person for being a failure, like yeah, I don't know. So I think it's mostly just not a game for me all the time. I wish it were, because I had fuck tons of fun. But I mostly think to myself, what are the scenarios where I would play this and have fun, and it would be very serious fun. It's still in early access, and I think they're still working pretty heavily on like progression mechanics and stuff like that. Like there isn't, I think if they got to a place where it had more robust progression mechanics, because what it is at the moment is bragging rights only, you know?
Right.
And if there's only bragging rights at stake, failure is actually like they're actually quite high stakes. The stakes are actually pretty high if the only thing that is up for grabs is saying you actually successfully completed a fucking scenario. Then yeah, the stakes are pretty fucking high, right? If in Deep Rock Galactic, right, the stakes are you get your fucking minerals and you can upgrade your fucking flamethrower or some shit. It's not that big a deal, right? Because you just go in and you do it again. You like reset and you start all over, or drop the difficulty or some shit. There's no difficulty to drop, and there's no minerals or anything. There's literally the only thing that you're failing is everyone else in your team. And I think, yeah, once they get to a progression point where there's something to win or lose, to gain or not, it might actually be a little less imposing.
Yeah.
A little less overbearing in its I guess, the terror you feel at having a failure point that isn't yourself, you know? But until they get there, yeah, it's not a game for me. But yeah, it's like, it is a lot of fun. And if you've got for people who are looking for. I think it's a game for people who played a fuck ton of Payday and want something that is Payday but takes itself seriously. Isn't continuously ratcheting up the goofiness, which is what Payday 2 sort of wound up doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway.
Did you ask them why they never responded to our emails for codes last year?
I did not. I think they didn't have a PR team on
They
board
never
at the
responded
time.
to our email.
No.
When we were like, hey, we talked about Payday a lot on here, and we're interested in covering your game. Just nothing.
Took time out, like literally made time to go play Payday 2 at E3 one year. Yeah, we were fucking goofs for Payday. But yeah, anyway. No, I didn't. Anyway, it's available right now. My personal recommendation is I would wait it out a little bit for them to flesh it out a little bit more. But it's certainly a very interesting execution of that Payday experience, or Payday meets Left 4 Dead, erring more on the horror side of things.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. One more game till we get to the big one.
Yep. PUBG.
Why? Why, Joab? Why do you do this to yourself all the time? I think it's time for an intervention.
It's pathological.
It's a bad relationship.
It is. I keep going back. I reinstalled PUBG. It was 30 gigabytes, which is smaller than a Warzone patch, and
not as good. So really,
yeah. I was lured in by the promise of playing with bots, and shit. It was something else. We were on Miramar. We dropped directly into Los Leones. It was underneath the plane. As far as I can tell, there were 10 other teams in our game, which was actually, that's 40 players because we were in squads. We were 3-man. It was me, Kleb, and Heath. Yeah. And as soon as I landed, after I looted one floor of a building in Los Leones, my game crashed. Before it did this, it was dropping to 0 frames for seconds at a time. My game crashed. I had Task Manager up on one of my other screens. I was looking at it, nothing out of the ordinary, but nevertheless, before I restarted the game, I made sure literally everything. I'd killed everything. I'd killed Chrome. I'd killed fucking BattleNet launcher and fucking Origin and everything. Everything was dead except for Steam and then PUBG. And so I reload PUBG, and then fucking, I don't know, 3 minutes pass and crashed again. And I crashed over and over and over again. And my last crash was when I got downed, crawled behind a rock. And as I was crawling behind the rock, I crashed, and then I heard from Kleb that we had all died. I assume, I have no idea. I've got no idea how it actually went down, but I assume what I did was I continued to crawl after I got behind the rock, and I just fucking crawled down into the middle of nowhere and died, because that's what you do. And anyway, so because I crashed, I just uninstalled the game. I just uninstalled it. I never really got to find any bots. I may have fought a bot. I don't know. I got a Groza. But the only people I actually got to shoot at were hundreds of meters away. So I was sort of single firing the Groza, and it seemed like by the time we actually got to shoot, we were smack bang in the center of the circle. I thought Los Leones would be pretty hot. It wasn't. I thought where we went to would be pretty hot. It wasn't. I got a flare gun. I called in a flare, and I thought that would bring some people in. It didn't. So yeah, I don't know. didn't really do anything. Did a bit of damage and didn't get any kills, and I uninstalled the game again, and that was me done.
Yeah,
fucking PUBG, and that's it. That's PUBG, baby.
For another, I don't know how many more months till you put it back on.
Until I go there again.
Yeah.
Good times. But yeah. Anyway, the big game.
Yeah. The Last of Us
game,
Part 2.
Part 2. Yeah.
So this podcast is going to be up, I think, a little bit later than usual, right? Is that correct?
I think for a little while we were going for like 4 p.m. on Friday.
Okay.
My preference, I think last week we worked out that would probably be better off going for 11 p.m. on Friday. But nevertheless, this will be going out at 5:01 p.m. on Friday and no earlier, or we will get fucked.
What if we put it up an hour and a half earlier? No, 2 hours earlier. That way, when they get to the Last of Us part, we can talk about it.
Genius. Okay. I want no part of that. I do not want to be reamed by Sony for that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I guess we're going to be talking, I think, spoilers for at least the end of Last of Us 1, the first game.
Yeah.
And then we'll basic premise of the game, and then no more story spoilers.
There will be no story spoilers.
It's a very story-heavy game.
And further to that point, the NDA agreement for the review code for The Last of Us 2 is insane. It is... I've never seen anything like it. It is the most... it is extremely restrictive in what we're allowed to talk about. I actually have a real problem with how fucking restrictive this fucking agreement was, because we couldn't have known how restrictive it was going to be before we agreed to it. It, like, we're not allowed to talk about I don't even know, because the way it's worded, you're not allowed to talk about, like, this is reminding me of fucking last week's podcast, right? When I like pointlessly brought up The Last of Us 2 to do a fucking, wet some whistles. And talk about the fuck, and then I fucking started panicking because I couldn't fucking work out what I was allowed to talk about. But you, like, the way it's worded, you're not allowed to talk about you're only allowed to talk about playing as Ellie. You're only allowed to talk about playing as Ellie, and you're not allowed to talk about any character's fate. And it turns out that is a spectacularly restrictive thing to agree to. It turns out that that stops you from talking about a significant portion of what makes The Last of Us Part 2 phenomenal.
Right. They did something very similar with Marvel's Spider-Man in 2018. I remember that NDA was, I think it's the biggest one that I've seen that we've ever agreed to. I can't find it at the moment, but it was long. And it went into details about, here are the things you can talk about, here are the things you can't talk about. Don't read this section if you haven't finished the game. And once you finish the game, then come back to it. Then you can, here's stuff to completely avoid. We don't want you posting these things on these certain days. Then 2 weeks later, you can talk about this stuff, and like very detailed. And I remember, I'm pretty sure one of the big things about Marvel Spider-Man, spoilers if you have not played it yet, was you weren't allowed to talk about the villain in that game. And they wanted to keep it a surprise. And I'm okay with that. They never actually revealed who the villain was at all during the during the trailers or all the media coverage they did for that game, and I'm cool with that because it leaves it as a surprise. And I think there are definitely ways you can go about talking about some of these games that are very story driven without giving away major plot points. And I think that The Last of Us has huge, it's a massive focus on story. There's twists and turns all over the place, things that happen, and it's very hard to talk about that stuff at the moment. I'm sure we can do it at some stage.
We'll be able to do a spoiler cast, and we'll do a spoiler cast.
Yeah.
We're definitely doing a spoiler cast, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think at this stage it'll just be very small spoiler stuff, and then we'll go into gameplay and stuff like that. So if you're worried about
spoiler stuff for the first game, there will not be any spoilers at all for The Last of Us 2. Under literal fucking fuck you in the ass agreement shit. And Sony are going after motherfuckers for leaking shit on this game. So we will tap dance around this shit very carefully.
Right.
So you do not have to worry about any fucking spoilers for The Last of Us 2 in this podcast at all, because I'm going to make sure it doesn't happen.
Yeah, and if we do, I'll cut them out.
We'll cut them out.
If we say something.
I will. Don't worry. I'll spend all of tonight, instead of sleeping, I'll lie awake thinking, should we have fucking said this?
Oh, you can edit this week.
I did this fucking last week. Hey,
you can edit this week's show if you want.
Oh no, I'm good. Don't worry about
it. You're good.
But yeah.
So anyway. The original game, Last of Us. Again, spoilers for that. We're going to talk about it. That game ended with Joel and Ellie at a hospital where Joel has been, I guess, escorting Ellie to this hospital to get the cure. And in order to do that, she needs to go into surgery and she'll be killed. But they'll be able to create a cure because she's immune to this post-apocalyptic zombie-style infection that is around the world. He has a change of heart and ends up basically rescuing her, and the game ends with them going back to, is it what's the name of the town? One of the settlements where Tommy has been held up, and that's the end of the game basically. You've traveled across the country to take this girl to extract the cure out of her, and he changes his mind. So that's kind of where the next game picks up, but a couple years later, right? It was they're living in this settlement, and how do you want to dance around this story? I guess the premise is that people have not liked the decision that Joel and Ellie have taken during the events of the last game, and it's a story about them trying to, I guess they're trying to find these people.
Look, I think Naughty Dog has been pretty upfront, right? It's based on interviews that you've seen fucking all over the place. Druckmann's been talking about the themes and stuff of The Last of Us Part 2. It's a revenge tale, they're like, people are out for revenge on based on the events at the end of the first game, and that drives everything that happens in The Last of Us Part 2. And so you wind up playing as Ellie in Seattle, it's a completely different locale, and there are these factions battling it out over control of Seattle, and there's a significant amount of I guess politicking at play and all this kind of stuff, and you wind up going through this version of Seattle, and it feels it's a game that I guess we can we'll just go from there, right? We'll just talk about from there. And just avoid any story stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Most story stuff. I think even just the setting. I think this is the best looking next generation game we've seen.
It is the best looking console game I've ever seen.
Sorry, console next generation game. It's up there with Red Dead, but I think it surpasses Red Dead.
I think it's better than Red Dead.
Completely. Probably only because it's not necessarily it's not an open world game. It's definitely more open than Naughty Dog stuff we've seen in the past, but it's still a bit more contained. And I think that's where it gets the edge on a game like Red Dead. But in terms of what they've done visually, it's the best looking next generation console game we've got. And it probably will be, because we've got 5 months left. And the next one, maybe Cyberpunk. We don't know what that really looks like on console yet. So,
well, Ghost of Tsushima could have a punt, but I think that will look more stylistic.
Yeah,
they'll go down the stylistic route. I'm sure it'll be gorgeous, but like visual fidelity wise, you cannot go past The Last of Us has got it. It is gorgeous.
It's ridiculous,
utterly gorgeous.
I don't know if you have seen this yet, but there's a photo mode in the game. No, it's really weird because there was a patch that came out, but it's been there since I've played it. So I've been taking screenshots of this game, and I'll shoot you some. They look ridiculous.
They're
nuts. Awesome. I'll shoot you some on Discord. I'll just quickly find it.
Well, I'll use them for. So I think I'm going to put something up on the geopodcast.com. You can read my.
I think I'm sending this to you.
Write a review. Oh, don't send it to someone else, you fuck. What
do I? Yeah, you're getting this now.
Yeah, that's fucking crazy.
It's nuts.
This is bad audio there.
I'll post them at some stage for people to see. Here's another one.
So, well, like I was saying, I'll put them in the review that I'm writing. Because that's fucking awesome. The first thing the game does is it really fucking I feel like it baits you into thinking it's going to be an open world sort of game, right? So that first area that you get to, when you first reach Seattle, is extremely open. It's probably the most open I've ever seen in a Naughty Dog game.
And it's probably the most open part of the entire game.
Yeah, and then like after you get through that, it immediately narrows down, and like it does. It almost feels like a bait and switch. But I don't think it's anything as sinister as that. I think it's simply they narrow the focus. It feels like an area that they intended on, that the game would be like broadly, and then they, I suppose, decided they wanted to significantly narrow things down.
Yeah, because you get a map at that stage of the game. And you never get a map for the rest of the game.
You never, I guess, never mind what I was just about to say, but it's weird, right? Because you can sort of tackle things in any fucking way you want. You can go and you can head into a bank and you'll acquire a fucking shotgun real early if you know where to look and know what to do. You can get a shotgun real fucking early, which is the shotgun's fucking amazing. It's like over the course of the game, you sort of upgrade and unlock more things, and one of the things you unlock is the ability to have 2 long guns available, at very ready access, very quick access to 2 long guns. You also get access to 2 handguns at very ready access. But the shotgun was a permanent. Had a permanent spot in my fucking long gun holster, because it is the ultimate everything's fucked button, and so it's one of those weapons where you don't want to fucking have to fiddle with a bunch of shit so that you can get to it, because by that time you're probably being eaten by a fucking clicker. And so you can get that real fucking early if you know where to go. Or you can hunt down, you can head somewhere else and find a bunch of fucking pills to upgrade and unlock like some skills and shit really early.
Because it's a resource management game.
Yeah. You can get like there's something else. I can't remember what. You build something. I can't remember what. It's too early in the game for me. I think it took me about 29 hours to finish. And this is in the first 3 hours. So I don't super remember exactly what else it is you build, but you find the recipe for something. Maybe the trip mine?
Can't remember.
Yeah. Anyway, that thing's fucking amazing. Yeah, you wind up in this situation where, you just got the ability to sort of really drive your game at the same time because it's a scavenging game. You don't know necessarily where any of these things are. You don't know exactly where to go. You don't know, if I go to the bank, I'll get the fucking shotgun. You just know that there are locations and you can go to them. And if you go to them, you might get something, or you might not. You might run into a nasty fucking zombie or something like that. Or
you can find a note that says, "Hey, there's this other compound somewhere else," and then it like marks it on your map, and you're like, "All right, cool, I can go over here now. I know that there's something over here."
Yeah, and it does a really good job of letting you know when you've cleaned an area out and stuff like that, and you've got like. There's safes and stuff. It's where you introduce to the concept of safes and the light puzzle solving that are safes. Like safes play a huge role in the game as one of the key puzzle elements, because a lot of the time, once you get past this broad open world area, you get into sort of the much more linear. It goes from my estimation is it's about 8 blocks in that first initial area of Seattle, and it goes down to about maximum 2 blocks later on.
Yeah,
because what it does is it puts you in these situations where you can't go backwards. Like once you've cleared out an area, you can't go backwards anymore. Like while you're moving forward, you will drop down a ledge or go through a door, and you can't go back from there. And generally those areas are restricted to about 2 blocks in space. And so you wind up in these situations where once you've exited that large open world starting area of about 8 blocks, you then know that you've got about 2 blocks of space to get through whatever it is, or to solve whatever puzzles or whatever. And generally speaking, the solutions to these puzzles will not be anywhere other than within that space. The only solution I'm thinking of that was from outside of the immediate space is that first one in the fucking open world. Because you need the gate code, right?
Yeah,
that's how you solve that safe. It's a very interesting or you don't.
You can brute force a lot of the safes. All the safes you can brute force.
Well, I don't see why you wouldn't be able to. What are you talking about? How would you brute force them?
You can actually hear the clicks when you turn the saves.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I opened a bunch of them just by spinning through.
That's fucking amazing. I did not know that. That is amazing. I did not notice at all.
Because there was one I got to, and I was like, I don't know whether the combination is, and I was like, can I just listen and try and open it that way? And you can.
Yeah.
You can literally just.
That is so cool.
And I did it for a bunch of them. From then on, I was just like spinning through.
That is rad. That is so cool.
And then the good thing about it was I would be like, all right, where is it now? Because sometimes it'll be like an environmental puzzle, like you've got to find it written on a wall somewhere. And there was one occasion where I did find like, oh, okay, yeah, cool, there it is. It's down there. But yeah, you can brute force those safes, which is that's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah. That is extremely cool. Because hunting for the safe code led me to probably my biggest criticism of the fucking game, which is that idea that you can exit an area and never go back. I think it is a cardinal sin in a linear game with exploration of this nature. I do not think. I think it is critically bad, a critical failure in level design. The one I'm thinking about specifically is there is a safe and the code is written down and it is a series of numbers and then question mark, question mark. And I suppose the solution to that one would be to listen for the click, right? And I probably would have brute forced it in the end. Well, I never fucking solved this one because while I was looking around for the fucking code, the finish the code, because I actually I relished these were my, because I think it is such a clever use of the intricate detail, the level design detail. I think it's such a very fucking clever way to get people to focus in on all the minute details in a level, is to have them hunt around for vaguely obscure references to things. The one I'm thinking about, I think, is probably my favorite. Is there's the safe code is the big win. You find the answer to that one on a cork board, and it is tiny. You have to fucking zoom in to fucking see the fucking thing, and I'm like, that is fucking genius. I love it.
The one I'm thinking about that you might have missed, was it the one in the bathroom, the toilet, next to the toilet seat?
Is it in a sewer, maybe?
No, I think it's actually in a bathroom next to a toilet. Like someone's written down, for call Sarah for a good time.
Oh no, I found that one. I found that one.
Right.
That was pretty funny. No, I found that one. No, I'm thinking this one was in a sewer, and while I was looking around, I leapt over a ledge because I looked over the ledge and I looked down. I'm like, I think Ellie could climb back up that, right? I think I should be able to climb back up that. So I'll just go down here and have a look, and maybe whatever it is I'm looking for is a little bit further away. It was barely 10 meters from the fucking safe itself.
Yeah.
And I leapt over, and that was it. I could not go back. I was done. And worse still, the autosave overwrote and the checkpoint overwrote as soon as I leapt over. Yeah. And so then I could not go back and solve that save. And I think that is a huge mistake. And I encountered it one more time. And what it did was it turned every single situation where I ran into, I think the beauty of the safe cracking is that it gets you to focus on the details of the level design. And the drawback of having it so that you can never go back is that it gets you to every part of that game is so specifically crafted in a way to make it feel like it's real.
Yeah.
How fucking amazing. There's not a yellow ledge, a spray painted ledge with some ropes hanging off it to indicate somewhere you can climb or something like that. None of that shit exists. Instead, it is just
I can climb
real. Yeah, and I can climb it, and I that just makes sense to me.
Yeah. There's a crack in the wall, and you're like, I should be able to fit through that. In any other game, you'd be like, oh, I can't get through that because it's just level design. It's a crack. But in this game, you can squeeze through it. Or if there's a car, you can go another
game. Yeah, in another game, if you could squeeze through it, it'd be spray painted white or something. That. The signposting that they do, it doesn't exist in The Last of Us. They're so desperately concentrating on trying to make it feel like a real world scenario, real post-apocalyptic scenario, but nevertheless real world. And they're trying to make it so that you feel like you are in a lived-in space. And the fact that they lock you out from being able to go back in a number of, the bulk of these situations makes it feel more video gamey than anything else. And I can't help but feel like what they should have done is anything to indicate that what you were about to do would transition you into a space where you could not come back. And I don't 100% know how they would do it, right? Because you don't want to wind up with the fucking yellow spray painted ropes, right? But I think if there was some sort of subtle indicator, you might at least there might be something to at least tell you for next time, that it'd be something that you could look at and say, okay, at least I know for next time, some sort of, I don't know, graffiti or something that tells you, this way only, or, they have to do something, because, I honest to God think it is a massive flaw in the level design of this game, because my only way to solve that safe now is to fucking play through the entire fucking level again, and that's not fucking happening. It's a single player linear narrative experience. I'm not part of me desperately wants to fucking solve every fucking safe in every game, but a larger part of me is not playing through an entire fucking 4-hour chapter again so that I can get back to a safe just so I can crack it, just because I failed to do it last time. That's I
wonder if the solution to that is having multiple save states, because I think the game's only got one. It's got like an autosave.
Yeah.
And if they had I don't know, 3 or 4, and you could be like, I've gone through this door, rather than it autosaving because you've gone through it, you jump back to a couple of minutes.
That'd be a good one. That'd be a good solution, I think. Because it really bugged the fuck out of me, and it made me realize how the game was constructed.
Yeah,
it laid bare, it shattered the glass on how the game was constructed, and I think it robbed it of a lot of its magic.
Sure, because the door you're going through, you don't know if it's going to be a door that is going to be blocked behind you when Ellie walks through it, or if it's just a door you're walking through.
Exactly. Yeah, and so you second guess every fucking door, and you start to question every single fucking crack, a hole in the wall you fucking go through. Am I ever is this a one-way fucking ticket? Is this ledge? There's no coming back from this ledge, even though
is this ledge gonna collapse when I jump on it, or
right? And this the ledge, the one I'm talking about in particular. Shouldn't fucking anyone could climb this fucking thing. Fucking anyone at all could make their way back up over this ledge. I do not understand why they decided that you wouldn't be able to go back. I've got to assume it's some sort of resource allocation thing, and I think it's tied to the reason why the game is able to achieve the visual fidelity that it does while still running as smoothly as it does, and looking as good and running as well and all that kind of stuff. I assume is why they're probably unloading a bunch of resources and stuff once you go past an area or something. But it doesn't really rectify the problem I have with it. Anyway.
But just keeping going on about puzzles. One of the ones that I like really early on is they teach you how to use like a rope, and then after that they give you something that's not a rope but behaves like a rope, and you need to solve a puzzle with that. And I think that is really smart, like using one thing to throw off a ledge and then climb up it or climb down, and then an hour later giving you something else, and then it doesn't tell you, the game does not tell you this is what you need to do with it, unless it gives you a hint, which occasionally the game will.
If you take too long.
But you can turn that off. We'll get to that
later
as well. But that's so smart. The game teaches you one thing for a mechanic, and then gives you a puzzle later on, but it's not a rope, and you just kind of have to figure that out. Like the game does that so many different times where you just like, all right, cool, fair enough.
I really like how it uses that sort of like what we were talking about earlier, the language. It teaches you the language, right? And it's such a simple. I think it's a very simple language that later on, when you're exploring, larger areas, and you wind up you just see a rope somewhere. You're like, I wonder what I can do with this. I wonder what I can use this for. And it encourages you to experiment and then find, like, I remember one in particular. I won't go into detail, but I remember one scenario where I found a rope and I just sort of threw it, and I didn't even know that it would lead to something. I just threw it, and then I wasn't solving the puzzle. I was more using it as a tool for further exploration. And what it led to was a spectacular spot to snipe motherfuckers from. But and a bunch of goodies. And yeah, you just wind up in this situation where the puzzle solving, once you learn the language, you're able to experiment with it and use that to enhance your exploration, and it grows the space of the level. And by and large, like, that's the sort of thing that normally you just sort of, like, it's complex. You can fucking die. Like, your character can die trying to fucking put that puzzle together, like trying and failing that puzzle. You can fucking die on that one. But yeah, instead it facilitates exploration in a way, and it doesn't lead to spectacular rewards, but it still it leads to rewards and the ability to get a different perspective on the area and all this kind of stuff. And I think it's such a, those things, they're so clever in the way that they designed each level to take advantage of players wanting to explore and wanting to really dig deep into the design and the minutia of what they've created.
Well, out of even just something simple as glass, right, plays a huge role in the level design.
Oh yeah.
And like in any other game, you'd see a house and it's got a glass window and you can't get in there because the game doesn't allow you. But in this game, it's like there's a boarded up house, but there's like a window above the door, and so you can like break the window and then climb through it. And it just uses glass in a way that I have not seen. I feel like maybe I saw that in Half-Life. Alex, I think I talked about glass in that, and the way you can use glass in that game. But this game does it even more, where you can glass is not a barrier for you, and you can use that in your puzzle solving, or like break a fridge and steal whatever food is inside of that fridge. You're talking about like the language of things that you see, and you're like, oh, I wonder if I can do this. Like that, this game does a really good job with this level design and being like, I wonder if I can go there. And for the most part, you can. Like there's definitely walls, invisible walls that they put up, but you generally know when you can't go over something.
Yeah, and like the amount of like vaguely boarded up houses that you can actually break your way into if you look around enough is surprising. The amount of like extraneous exploration you can do is like off the charts. There are these are houses that would generally or buildings that would generally just be sort of set dressing in other games, and yet here there are opportunities for like storytelling. You'll find like letters and stuff that have that detail these extra storylines, and you've got all these other people who you might find a corpse and a letter apologizing for something, and then fucking 2 hours later you'll come across another fucking letter and it'll be like, I wonder where fucking Joe is. Like, he was supposed to meet me here. I'm sorry, I just need him to bring the fucking meds. And then if you fucking go back through your letters, you'll be like, signed off by, Joe, sorry, I'll never be able to bring the meds in. You're like, oh, fucking hell. Like, that is so disconnected. Yeah. These two people are so disconnected, and like, you've got a complete picture of how everything went wrong for them and stuff like that. And it's really fucking cool. And it's also utterly peripheral to the primary game experience. Like, a lot of this stuff, you don't need to go into these houses. You just do it because exploring is, except when you go too far in an area and fuck yourself, exploring is a joy, and you're doing it for the fun of the exploration itself. They've managed to, I think one of my biggest problems with the first game is that I felt like scavenging was a core necessity, and I didn't think that it was fun.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't find fun in hunting around for fucking a bottle and some rags or some shit. I didn't think that was a interesting way to do it. I mean, it was interesting the first time and maybe even the 10th time, but the fucking 100th time I was doing it, I was like, okay, fucking whatever. I just fucking can I just have a
just
fucking Molotov for fuck's sake? Yeah. But in this, it's sort of a byproduct. It's like I felt like in The Last of Us, scavenging was the means to an end itself. Meanwhile, in this, you scavenge and the means to the end is the exploration, is the passive platform puzzle solving that I think they really nailed in this game. And I don't think they did as well in the first game, which I think, I think is probably a highly contentious fucking point of view. But I personally didn't think the first game was the fucking bee's knees. I think we fought about it on the fucking Game of the Year podcast the year it came out, because I think Junglist, it was like his game of fucking his everything. He fucking loved that game.
Yep.
And I just wasn't that fucking blown away by it. But yeah, like I think they've dramatically fixed a lot of my problems with the first game in this one. They've taken it, and it's funny. I was talking about this, the Command Conquer and Red Alert thing, and how they took the first game and just made it fucking way better with Red Alert 2. But that's what The Last of Us 2 feels like. It just feels like it's been made way fucking better. Mechanically speaking, gameplay wise, what people are playing The Last of Us for may not necessarily be the mechanics in the gameplay. It might be a narrative that we flat out can't fucking talk about. So
I think we can talk about little bits. What I will say about the narrative is, a lot of people there was people that didn't want a sequel to this game. They think that it's stood alone. I think they've done a good job of expanding this world and also telling a story that is really fucking good. I liked about 95% of this story.
I also liked, I would say, about 90% of this story. Although
it's long. It's a long game.
It is a long game. I have some problems with the specifics on how this narrative is constructed, but I enjoyed it in spite of that. But we will not go into that.
I don't have any problems with the way the narrative is constructed. At least if we're talking about the same thing. But I wasn't a huge fan of the ending, like the story of the ending. I thought it wasn't what really I wanted out of it. And we can get to that at some other stage. But in terms of the overall story, you talked about like politics and factions and things like that. I like what they do in the world building of you get to explore like all these different factions that are in this world and find out like what they're about and who they are. And we've seen some of them in the videos that they've shown off, like the faction that don't communicate with each other, they kind of like whistle. So that was in the initial gameplay reveal. Like we get to find out more about them, and we get to find about like all the other factions in there, and like who is actually like who is the bad guys in the situation. Are there any bad guys, or is everybody got their own sort of alliances, the things they want about? And you get to really explore this world a lot more and find out, you know, what is sort of driving these people. I think that's really interesting, like what they do here. We don't get to see a lot of that usually. It's sort of like very focused on these are the good guys and here is why they're good. But are they actually the good guys? You know, we get to see that every once in a while in other mediums, but usually we don't. I think it does a good job of you know, through the world building and all the storytelling of exploring that. So, but yeah, the like ending for me wasn't really what I wanted. But for the, like, I was completely engaged by the story for 95% of it. I thought it was fantastic, really good, and directed well. I think amazingly directed the entire game. There is a moment where, like, I won't go into specifics, but where like Joel and Ellie are having a moment. They visit like a museum, and it's a pretty decently long sequence. I think it's like one of the best character moments in the entire game. Like, it is so good. There's not much gameplay per se, but you're definitely moving around, exploring and that sort of thing. But there's no like combat or anything. It's just these two characters interacting with each other. I think it's brilliant. Like, you find out so much about these two people during that moment.
They reach the I think they directly reference it, but I think it's as good as the giraffe moment in the first game. The one you're talking about.
Yeah.
I like the ending. Obviously, I will not go into any details. We will discuss it
All right,
at length. We're definitely going to discuss it at length because I think we're going to get Nate on, and that man has thoughts. That dude has some fucking thoughts. So, yeah, I think that's going to be a very interesting podcast when we talk about the narrative of this game. I'm very excited to do it. But
does he not like the game?
It's going to have to wait. Huh?
Does he not like the game?
I don't want to speak for Nate, but there's a lot to unpack in this in the narrative of this game. So back to the fucking gameplay, which we can talk about without any
the gameplay and the movement.
I want to talk about. I put the fucking aim assist on. There's an aim like the Last of Us 2 has the fucking most impressive fucking accessibility options I've ever seen in a fucking game in my entire life.
It's nuts. It's insane.
What they're talking about is apparently like you could a blind person, vision, like full vision impairment, could play this game and they would not have any issues. I think that entire like the final parts of the accessibility suite are coming in a patch,
right?
Just before day one.
Okay.
So I don't think a blind person could play and finish the version that we played.
Yeah.
But I think once it's out, they would be able to do that.
The one that I'm looking at, there's lots. There's a staggering amount. Like, this is the benchmark, I feel like, for AAA games that we're not just talking about accessibility in terms of you know, like you're saying, people with vision impairments, but people that don't play a lot of video games and or can't do certain things with video games, like rapidly pressing buttons quickly, aim assists, the strength of the aim assists, changes to the AI, things where AI will react differently to you depending on what settings you've plugged in there. Things like taking someone hostage. Will they ever try and struggle away? You can switch that on. There's like so many difficulty options. It's not just like easy, medium, hard. Like, that is there, but then you can go and fine tune it and be like, oh, well, I want to, because I did something similar as you. I tried putting aim assist on, but I switched off. I was like, nah, just like, it's not for me. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like, when I play a PC game, the first thing I do is I go on the settings and I look at all my controller settings. What sensitivity do I want? And everyone's going to be different, right? for you, maybe you struggled with aiming in the game, but for me, I was able to change my sensitivity and get it to a point where it felt good. Someone else, they maybe want to, tweak the way the enemies behave or change the way that the stealth works in the game, and you can go in there and do all that stuff. Like I think it's really impressive what they've done.
Yeah, my problem is I've got no fucking proof. I've got absolutely no proof of this, but I do not think Naughty Dog are capable of making a fucking good shooting model. I just don't think they can do it. I just haven't played a fucking Naughty Dog game where the shooting has felt good. And The Last of Us 2 is no fucking exception to this rule. I can't tell if it's like psychosomatic at this point, if it's just me in my head thinking all Naughty Dog games feel like shit to shoot, or if and playing at the start of the game while you've got no because over the progress of the game you upgrade your guns and you upgrade your character to be able to do certain things, hold their breath or reduce the sway on fucking guns and stuff. And maybe just at the start it just feels like shit, but I was like, the shooting feels like shit and it feels like a pretty fucking significant portion of this game, so I'm just going to chuck aim assist on. I'm tired of fucking, like, I played through all of fucking Uncharted 3 with that garbage fucking aim assist, and like, one of the worst shooting models in AAA video games. I don't really want to fucking deal with this again. And so, yeah, I turned it on and I didn't really feel bad about it. It was, like I said, I've got no fucking idea if it is a case of, my own fucking biases against Naughty Dog shooting models, but yeah, it doesn't feel good in its natural form, and I couldn't see any way to. What I think, like, it feels like it's control lag or something. I've never been able to like 100% put my fucking finger on what it is. Like, there's something wrong there. I know that for a while, there were dead zones at the corner, so you had a square. Like, you could only aim in squares in Naughty Dog games, but I'm pretty sure they fixed that with Uncharted 4. So that wasn't the problem, but there's definitely like a fucking lag when I aim at stuff, or aim acceleration. I think there's aim acceleration making up for control lag or something like that. There's something wrong there, and it drives me fucking bananas. And aim assist was able to solve that issue for me, and yeah, I didn't really feel bad about doing it. I didn't feel like I needed any other assists. It felt super responsive to move and to like do everything else in the game. It was literally just aiming, and yeah, like, I think that one of my other big issues with the first game is that I thought the stealth was shit-tastic, and for a game that is basically revolves around stealth.
I mean, you can play it as an action game if you want to. There's no problem with that.
But the stealth in this one's way better. Significantly better. I said this last week in between stammering about fucking trying to work out what I'm allowed to talk about, but like, the stealth in this one is significantly improved to the point where, you've got like, I think your companions are still invisible, but it's not that big a deal. Well, like, most of the time they were way behind me while I was fucking rolling up on the next cunt to fucking stab him in the throat and shit. Yeah, like, it didn't really impact it. Meanwhile, like, this, because of the way stealth worked in the first one, it felt like you spent a lot of time. Actually, there were a couple of times when the companions were fucking annoying, but yeah, like, in this one you spend a lot of time sort of moving forward. It feels like they've spaced it out a little bit more, whereas in the first one it was a lot more claustrophobic in the way that it placed enemies, and so you needed to be basically on top of one another when you were taking out the next person. There are a couple of situations where I'm trying to fucking hide behind a desk or something, and fucking don't know if I can say a name. Someone is has decided to hide behind that same desk at exactly the same moment. I'm like, motherfucker, this is not the time. Unless you're going to go stab that cunt yourself, I recommend you move. But no, couldn't move. There was I don't know if I could say her name, but I just like in my mind while I was playing, I called her Jub because of in that fucking when Selma in The Simpsons marries Troy McClure and she gets the lizard. She's like, he's everywhere you want to be. That's Jub. Jubbed everywhere you want to be. And yeah, that was basically like in a couple of early moments that was happening a lot, and I was like, fucking, they've made the same mistake again. And then disappears. It never it doesn't happen again. And I think it's because they widened out they broadened the fucking the scenarios where you wind up needing stealth.
Yeah, and I think really what they ended up doing was the AI. There's definitely points where the AI is like out in the open, and you're like, oh, like if this was actually real, then that person will be spotted. But the AI actually tries to get out of the way a lot. Like it'll loop back around and try and make sure that it can't be seen. So there was only a very small handful of occasions where I actually saw a point where I felt like that character could have been noticed, but for the most part, it does a good job of maneuvering around. And then like the interactions between your character and whoever your companion is works so well. Like sometimes you'll take down a clicker and you'll see on the off screen them taking someone down. Or like you'll be in the middle of a fight and then that companion will come over and like stab them in the back or something like that. And it's just like
you'll
the interactions
shoot someone.
Yeah.
Multiple times I was like, I'd shoot someone and I'd like, I don't know, I wouldn't get the headshot and I'd be like, fuck, but they would drop because they had a fucking arrow in the head. I'm like, fuck yeah, that is perfect. Thank you very much. Carrying your weight. And yeah, like it was often situations where like stealth would have been broken if they hadn't been taken down. And if so they feel hyper capable and they feel like they're actually working in like the same way. It's not they don't just like, bring it when shit hits the fan. They're actually capable during those stealth moments as well, which makes them feel very capable companions and like a welcome addition as opposed to something of a burden, which I felt like, which was weird because Ellie in the first game was invisible, so she shouldn't have been a burden. And yet I felt like so much of that game had that escort quest vibe.
Yeah, like babysitting.
Yeah, exactly. That's not how it feels in The Last of Us 2. They're extremely capable and they're there to help a lot of the time. It almost like you almost feel like loss when you go out on your own and you're like, oh, I got to do this bit by myself. On the other hand, there are some scenarios that you really like, some shit you can only get away with if you're on your own, I think. I was doing this one part where I was sneaking through like some suburbs and I was like in a house. And I basically, every time they would go to the top of this set of stairs, like the AI is good, but it's not flawless. It's not the best AI in a video game I've ever seen. The amount of times, I killed this one dude at the top of this set of stairs, and then repeatedly they'd like, oh, a dead body, and they'd walk up to the top of the stairs, and I'd stab and throat. Top of the stairs, and then someone else would see that dead body and they're like, oh, a dead body, and like another fucking stab and throw, baby. And so I wound up with like 7 fucking bodies at the top of this fucking set of stairs. I'm like, whoo, this is probably not how this should have gone down.
Yeah, and that's the thing that like you see that in a lot of stealth games, and they do like that does happen, but they do a pretty good job of trying to work around that as an issue with things like enemy interactions with each other. Like all the characters have names, they talk to each other. Like if you're trying to do something and two characters are talking to each other and you take out one of them and the other person doesn't hear a response back, they'll get suspicious and then tell somebody else they're going to go look out. And then they'll both start coming and flanking, and like the way they communicate and even just with that specific set of enemies, like the other ones we talked about with the whistling, they communicate via whistling and it's such a good, like, it's so freaky when that's because you don't know what they're saying and you don't know what's going on. And that's like the way they behave with each other is really cool. And on top of that, another awesome thing about it is you can restart an encounter. It saves checkpoints and it also saves encounters. And so if you're I don't know 20 minutes into an encounter and you're just like, I want to start it again, you can start it again, or you can restart the checkpoint and maybe it'll put you back, 2 people that you last killed, which is so smart. But if you restart that checkpoint, I found that not necessarily the AI is on the same path or where they were going. Because I was like, I'm going to set myself up over here and I'll get them when they come through this way. And I was like, where are they? They're not here. And they're like going down a different path or exploring somewhere else. So it's not like you can brute force your way. It's not like the XCOM thing where you can restart and scum save and be like, I'm going to go back and do this. You're like, nah, they've thought about that for the most part.
I don't know if you... was it you who was talking about there being fucking different zombies on the checkpoint restart, or was that Nate was talking about
Probably
that?
Nate. Yeah, I didn't notice.
Yes. Where there was a clicker, suddenly there's a shambler or something like that, and it dramatically changes how you like approach the situation, because you can't fucking stealth kill a shambler. So it can be a huge change as well. It's not just a different path. It can be a completely different enemy and stuff like that, which is a pretty big deal. Which is pretty cool. Like it's a really smart way to go about it. I didn't like that you couldn't stealth kill shamblers, or maybe I just didn't like that I had to fucking find out on my own.
It doesn't tell you.
Like, no, it doesn't. And
there's a couple of occasions where it introduces a new zombie type.
Yeah.
Or one that you haven't seen during that specific game, and it doesn't really tell you what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. And just the idea that you can't stealth kill them is extremely annoying, because they're just resource intensive, I guess. They're just annoying enemies, I found. They're not marauder bad, but they're just sort of the only way to deal with that. It feels like you've got a number of options to deal with clickers, and there's only one way to deal with a lot of the new zombies, and they just bug the fuck out of me. But anyway,
one other thing is I really like the combat. Like they've really taken that melee system from the Uncharted games, where you're interacting with like the environments and things like that. Like they'll slam their head up against a wall or use the objects around you to sort of deal with them. But also it's very stylistically done in terms of the camera movements and that sort of thing. And then the dismemberment could be one of the goriest games since maybe like a Soldier of Fortune. Like, you are taking people's legs off and things like that. It is brutal.
Those trip mines are disgusting. Like, just heinous. People explode into fucking chunks. And sometimes if they're not like there are a couple of situations where you can like put one down, like you can fucking restart a scenario and then quickly go put down 2 fucking trip mines and just like fire in the air, and they just fucking beeline for you, and every kind of fuck explodes. And the people who are on top of the mine, they're gone. Like, they are pink mist, right? There's a little bit of hamburger about. But the ones who were a couple of steps behind them, half of them are still there.
Yeah.
And you're like, Jesus Christ, game. Fucking hell. Like, that is rough. That is fucking rough. Yeah. I actually think what they're trying to do, like, fuck, stupid fucking NDA. I think it's a commentary on video game violence. I think the whole thing is a commentary on video game violence.
Mm-hmm.
What they're trying to do is get players to like directly reflect on the nature of video game violence and our relationship with violence in video games. And I can't explain why. So I'm stoked. But just remember when you're listening to this, I suppose at this point, fucking 8 o'clock, because you know you listen the moment the gap comes out,
Yeah,
you're like,
boom.
fucking bang on, baby, let's listen. See what they got to say. At 8 o'clock on Friday, 3 hours after the embargo lifted. Yeah, Joab said it first. No, I think what they're trying to do is directly, because I think that's why they're yelling out the names. They're trying to like remind you that these are fucking people, right? Like I mean, in the fucking Westworld sense, or the fucking, Futurama Fry go to the warehouses inhabited by boxes planet, whatever. Like, they're not people, but like from the perspective, if The Last of Us is a role playing game, and I think seeing how you play the perspective of a specific character, and you don't make decisions, you do what they have decided they will do. If The Last of Us is a role playing game, then the role of that player, they're trying to give you the perspective of someone who actually inhabits that world. And yeah, I think they're trying to get players to reflect on the violence. I think, I think they'll do it. I think they'll succeed. It's Metal Gear Solid 2. Like, The Last of Us is Metal Gear Solid 2. Like, yeah, they're trying to get you to reflect on the nature of your actions in a video game without getting you to take too broad.
Sure.
You don't get to take too broad a fucking grip on the reins of that video game. You're still playing ultimately a one-way journey, but yeah, they're trying to get you to reflect on the nature of it, and I think they do a fucking good job. It is like when the shit hits the fan and you fucking shoot someone and they fall to the ground screaming, you're like, all right, like,
yeah, and you're like, is that person dead yet? And I know, yeah, their leg's missing. They're definitely in trouble.
Like, my wife walks past, she's like, what is going on? And I'm like, oh yeah, I shot them. She's like, oh, okay. Are they okay? I'm like, well, not anymore. That's why they're screaming.
Or like the player character will get shot, and rather than them taking damage, they'll be knocked to the ground, and then all of a sudden you've got to deal with, do I get up or do I shoot from the ground, or like what do I do now? Like, it feels like it's got impact.
Or, you get an arrow through you and you got to fucking
pull it out,
painstakingly pull that thing out, which I don't think you're supposed to do, but whatever. Yeah, like, it goes in. It is graphic.
Yeah.
And I think they do a really good job of, another thing that I think they do is that really tight third person camera angle, as opposed to the Uncharted style drawn back camera. This one's closer to the character, and I think in some situations it has drawbacks, specifically in terms of gameplay, but for making you like wear the consequences of your actions, the blood on the lens or the blood on the player character's face and stuff like that, like that fucking it works really well.
Like, it doesn't do the set piece moments like as large scale as the Uncharted series, because it's not like a Hollywood style type film. That game has what is it, like you're in a boat and the whole boat is moving and it's sinking and like that sort of thing. Whereas this is those set piece moments are you in control of the character, you getting caught while trying to stealth through a section, and then the camera following you through that, jumping over cars, squeezing through doorways, and then trying to solve that. There's definitely a couple of set piece moments, like you being in a car or on horseback, stuff like that. But they're not. They try and make it pretty. I don't know, like personal in terms of where the camera is situated, and it's not like a giant explosive film.
No.
Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. If you've got a PlayStation 4, I think it's a must buy.
And just in terms of the PlayStation 4, I think because I've had this discussion in terms of frame rate and things like that.
Sure.
I think it works well as a 30 frames per second game because it's not.
Yeah.
It's not fast paced. I'd say like it's not overly fast paced. It's not like a God of War or something like that. So I think it works as 30 frames. Like it's slower. Like if you're thinking about waiting for the PlayStation 5 just so you can run it at 60, it's obviously going to help. But I think there's no issues here playing it on a PlayStation 4.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What was I saying? Oh yeah, if you own a PlayStation 4, I think you have to, like, it's a 100% get. Even if you didn't like the first game all that much, as long as you understand I think you have to have finished the first game. I think that is necessary, in my opinion, because I think it provides a significant amount of context. I don't think you'd be lost. I think you like it still establishes characters well, and I think it could stand alone. But there's so much context from the first game that I think is required. For this game to have the impact that it does.
I mean, it's part 2, right?
Yeah, right. Like, yeah, it's pretty upfront. But yeah, like, yeah, I definitely think it's a must play game. It was absolutely the best looking console game of this generation. And yeah, it's 100% worth the money from a fucking playtime perspective. Good lord.
Oh yeah, it's I think maybe a little bit too long.
Maybe
just in terms of, only because I feel like the first I don't know, like 20 hours or so, just there's a little section towards the end where I felt like it was a little bit too long. Like I don't know if we needed it, because I think for the most part that entire story, it needs to be there. But there's a tiny bit towards the end where I'm like, I feel like this is a little bit too long. Like I don't know if I need this part in here. And we can obviously talk about that later. But yeah, for what it tries to do in its terms of the story, I think it's a really good length. Like it's, I think for me, probably around the same point as you, 28, 26 hours, somewhere around there. And so you're getting what you're going to get what you pay for. I think I bashed it out in like 3.5 days or 3 days, something like that.
Yeah. So, that's got like New Game Plus and all that kind of shit. It could probably be longer if I hadn't been fucking accidentally going beyond the point of no return when solving some fucking safe puzzles and shit. Yeah, like there's a lot to it. Is there multiplayer coming?
No, there's no multiplayer.
No player, none at all.
None.
I can't remember if they ruled it out 100% or not.
I'm pretty sure
because the first game had it, right?
I think so.
But yeah, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, it is a killer game. Yeah, and I can't wait to talk about it. I reckon we do a spoiler cast next week.
Yeah,
we don't have to put it up immediately.
Yeah, just so it's fresh.
But yeah, because I think that's been our mistake, couple of times is, we'll do the spoiler cast and then put it up. Yeah. But if we record it earlier, we'll actually be able to fucking remember some shit.
Because this game's not out for another like 10 days or something.
No, yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. They were very confident in their review embargo for this. I guess they've done it quite a lot. Like with Spider-Man was very lenient as well. And God of War.
With and fucking Detroit and that fucking shithole Hideo Kojima game that I hate, Death Stranding.
Death Stranding.
By the time that game came out, I'd wiped it from my memory. I'd like Eternal Sunshine myself. Yeah, like fucking I was done. Yeah.
So is it your game of the year so far then?
Yeah, I think it is.
Because you've hated every other game. You realize this, right?
Every other game's been bad.
I was coming into this podcast expecting another video game that has somehow slept with Joab's wife, and he's very angry about it.
First of all, okay, I don't think I should be accosted for correctly pointing out that every game that's come out this year has been kind of shit, except for The Last of Us 2. That said, I wouldn't turn it.
I don't think I would either.
I can't explain why, but
no, because I think it does a good job of not a good job, that's a bad word, an excellent job of taking something like a genre we know and sort of doing it exceptionally well. Like it's an exceptionally well made video game. But I don't know if it's elevating, if it's pushing a boundary anywhere.
Yep. I just think there are some significant flaws with the narrative that I can't fucking explain. But not yet. But yeah. Anyway, yeah. I wouldn't turn it, but I do think it is
very close.
The best game of 2020 so far.
Yeah.
Personally, I expect Cyberpunk will wipe the floor with it, but if it doesn't, I will still have played a very good game in The Last of Us 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
What about you?
Yeah.
Best game you played this year or what?
We'll have to get to that. We'll see. It's definitely up there. I'll probably have to revisit it at the end of the year.
Right. But so far this year,
I had a lot of fun with Half-Life, so.
Oh, but you're a clown, so
very close.
Fuck it.
They're very close.
It's no Boneworks. Is all I'm saying.
Definitely not Boneworks. I think I saw this story, the exact story in Boneworks at some stage. My interpretation of it. Anyway, that is when is this game out? Is it next week? End of next week?
Next Friday. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. When is that? Is that a Saturday for us here? All right, that's a weird day. Anyway, we might see if we can get a spoiler cast of some sort going for this, and then we'll pump that out. See what people think.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Should we do some news?
Let's do it.
The Sony PlayStation 5 presentation event is on tomorrow now. So it was delayed. It's now tomorrow. Are we going to do a thing for it, or are you busy?
I honestly don't know. I am supposed to be heading to the Shire for some fishing.
Right.
We are less than 24 hours away now, and it hasn't been confirmed, so I don't fucking know anymore. Hopefully I'll go fishing, but otherwise
some Red Dead Redemption fishing.
And yeah, we'll talk through the PlayStation thing instead.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited. I can't wait to see what we get to see. Yeah.
Any predictions or things you'd like to see? The console, maybe?
I'd love to see the console. That'd be cool. But yeah,
do you think it's a given that we're going to get I was going to say Event Horizon because you just said that. Horizon Zero Dawn sequel.
Yeah.
I feel like they need to show two. Like two big ones. And I think the two are the Horizon and Spider-Man would be the two.
Yeah. Like a Spider-Man 2?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just not give Microsoft any like leeway for their, because Microsoft's going to show Halo, right? That's a given. But I don't think they've got much else because their studios that they've just bought are going to be working on those games.
Still working on stuff. Yeah.
They could do a teaser trailer or show a logo, but I don't think they can show actual gameplay. Whereas if I think Sony comes out and shows two well-known IPs and just is like, fuck you, like here's what we've got coming next year, or even this year, could be huge for them.
Yeah, that's a good point. So you reckon Horizon and Spider-Man? Yeah, I think it's a pretty good guess. I'd love another Horizon. How fucking good would that be? That'd be cool. I should go back and reuse. I don't think I ever played there was like a Frozen Wastes type fucking expansion, right?
Yeah,
DLC for that. Yeah. I don't think I ever played it. Maybe I should go check that out.
I don't think I did either. Yep. Cool. So that's tomorrow, and next up we've got Bungie announced a bunch of expansions for Destiny 2, and in doing so have also said they're not working on a sequel at the moment, and it's 2 years, 2 years of expansion, so 3 more pieces of content, and they're saying that the stuff that you have bought for Destiny 2 will be carried over the next generation of consoles. It'll be free, and anything you bought is also coming across as well. Seems like a big announcement from them. They seem all in on this Destiny 2. It sounds like the idea behind Destiny was originally like a game that you would buy and then they would update it over an immense amount of years. It was never supposed to be a Destiny 2. And it seems like Activision were the ones that were very pushy on having that come to fruition. And so it sounds like they don't want a Destiny 3 at the moment. They just want to keep doing Destiny content, which is good, I guess. I don't know if that'll get me to go back and check it out when this new stuff drops, because we got another, at least 2 more years of Destiny stuff. I'm not that keen into it, but at least they're supporting that game. They're not just churning out, another sequel.
Yeah.
Have you looked into any of this at all, being a massive Destiny fan as you are?
I get tempted. I do get tempted, because I always get tempted by games I stop playing for rage reasons. But no, I haven't looked into it at all. I just, I think people who love Destiny, and I think that's cool for them, but it's just, it's not for me. I think it's just not monetized in a way that it doesn't drip feed content in a way that I find personally enjoyable, and I just can't fucking do it. It doesn't ruin the fun I had in the first game, but yeah, nothing I've seen from Destiny 2 makes me think that they've fixed the problems I have with the way the game plays. So there's no reason for me to go back. Yeah.
Oh, all right.
It's cool that they keep they're supporting it as much as they are, and I think that's a really good sign.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it was always I think I felt personally justified in abandoning Destiny when they did Destiny 2 the way they did. But that said, having abandoned it, I didn't want people to get fucked on like they did. It sucks.
Yeah.
So it's cool that they will continue to be able to get their games the way they want, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Sure thing.
Yeah.
Next up, we got Alex Kidd in Miracle World DX. I don't know what that means, but you can tell us.
This was announced. I guess IGN's Summer of Gaming kicked off today.
Oh, okay.
And one of the games announced or revealed was Alex Kidd in Miracle World DX, and I guess DX just means fucking definitive Edition or something. I fucking know. I don't know why it's called DX, but whatever it is, it looks like a graphically enhanced version, basically a remastered version of Alex Kidd in Miracle World, which holds a very special place in my heart. And yeah, you can play in retro mode. There's some sort of fucking boss rush mode, which I don't really understand. I don't really get how you'd have fucking boss rush, like, because it was fucking janking, like Paper Scissors Rock. Like, yeah. Anyway, whatever. Well, I wonder if they'll make it so that the bosses are no longer the same, because that'd suck. I don't think that's a good idea, to be honest. Anyway, Alex Kidd in Miracle World is a phenomenal game, so yeah, everyone should be excited for this, in my opinion.
Nice.
Yeah, you can watch the trailer. They didn't use the Alex Kidd music, which was annoying. They got some new music, but whatever. Yeah, it's cool.
These two are yours next, I think. Still, oh no, one of them's mine. I don't know. What's this next one?
The bundle for racial justice and equality on itch.io. Krusty Raven pointed this out on our Discord. You can go check out the yeah. It's at this point it's 1,500 plus games.
Yeah,
for $5, and the proceeds go to what's it exactly called? Proceeds go to the NAACP Legal Defense and Educational Fund and Community Bail Fund in a 50-50 split. And the games you get 1,500 games. It's itch.io, so some of them are garbage. But a lot of them are really fucking good, and there's some crackers in here. Like in the list, there's like quadrilateral cowboy, super hexagon, night in the woods, Celeste, Overlands, fucking tons more. And yeah, it's $5. They're nearly all of the way. They're 88% of the way. They're $5 million goal. It's fucking rad. Like it's $5. So if you got $5, or I guess I think it's $7.90 or something Australian, because our dollar's shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, do it.
So you have to play this on the actual itch.io website, or does it link into your Steam? Like, how does it work?
You can get executables for a lot of the games, but otherwise, a lot of the as many of the games, you just play directly on your fucking browser. It doesn't link. There are no Steam codes for anything in the bundle, as far as I'm aware. But yeah, basically, you just download the game executable and play it. So once you've bought it, you can't add it all to your library, which is a bit annoying. But also, it's 1,500 games that are probably just fucking potato people, like the database sites and stuff. So it's probably for a reason. Yeah, it's totally worth it. Check it out.
Next up, there's an update for Warzone tonight. In a couple hours, Season 4 is coming, and it will be 50 gigabytes.
Yes, it's a 50 gigabyte update. I swear to God, they said they were doing something to make the fucking updates smaller, but I don't know.
They said this is going to be an update that'll make it smaller, but then said that it'll be 5 gigabytes more than what it was.
Whoa!
Their maths is going weird.
I do not understand. Like, I don't understand how this functions. It's so odd. But yeah, doesn't matter. I still love the game. I don't know what this season's bringing, but I haven't seen patch notes or anything. But I'm excited nonetheless.
Yeah, they haven't released any. but I haven't played in a while. I'm keen to jump in now that The Last of Us is out of my hair. Yeah, we should jump in, definitely. Try those shields, eh? How do they go?
Right? Shields will be even more powerful because they'll have nerfed
taken
some
them
other
out?
shit, I'm sure. Then good. I said they should the fucking day after the game came out. I will be correct. I will be proven right, ultimately. So yeah.
Yeah.
There's no avenue of attack that you've got on this issue. I am right from all fronts. I'm right that they're overpowered and that they should be removed. And I'm right that they're overpowered and we should just use them until they remove them. But you refuse to see reason because you are ridiculous.
All right. Fair enough.
All right.
And that's it.
All right.
That is the news. Have we got any questions this week?
No.
Oh, that's fine.
That's fine. It's lunchtime, I guess.
It is lunchtime. That's the show. You can find us on iTunes, Android, Windows Store, under the Gap, the GA Podcast, or the Gap Podcast. Please rate and review the show if you have a moment. It helps other people find it. Thank you if you do have time to do that. If you'd like to send us any questions, you can email us thegapodcast@gmail.com, or you can go to our Discord page, thegapodcast.com/Discord. You can jump in there and I don't know, what are the people talking about this week? I seen you guys talking about stuff, but the last 3 or 4 days I've not seen what is going on in that channel at all.
You've been down a Last of Us rabbit hole. Jungler's put up a video of him playing fucking Valorant, and I don't know why he put it up. Like, I think he embedded it in fucking the Discord itself because he's fucking odd. But
so now we've got
if you go on his
Vanguard
YouTube,
on Discord
you can
or
see
something.
Forever.
Yeah.
Because I was his pictures. I was shit talking shotguns in Valorant, but I was just shit talking all of Valorant. I was a shotgun, and the buck that I was shooting was just shit at Valorant in general.
Right. Was he listening and you were shit talking it, or did you talk to him outside of the podcast about it directly?
I was playing with him. I was shit talking Valorant and playing Valorant and shit talking at the same time.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Anyway, there's a good Killer Instinct doco link by Racing. There's a fucking Dwarf Fortress doco coming from NoClip as well that I'm very excited to watch.
Oh, cool.
I'll drop a link for it.
Yeah, check that out. I might chuck some of those screenshots that I took of The Last of Us in there once we're allowed to, so people can have a look. They're not very. I don't think they're spoilery. It's just environmental stuff. Yep. You can also find us on social media: facebook.com/GAPodcast, twitter.com/GAPodcast. You can go to our website. No, you can go to our YouTube, thegapodcast.com/YouTube. You can watch this show, which was very late this week because it hasn't worked. It won't render properly, but I'll figure that out. Anyway, it is there if you want to go watch that. You can also go to our website, thegapodcast.com. It's got links to all the things we talked about today on the show, including past episodes. If you want to go check them out, you can. And that is all thanks to our Patreon members. If you want to help support this show, you can go to patreon.com/GAPodcast and become a member, where we'll get the podcast out to you a day early, except for this week because we're doing this.
Embargoes.
Yep. So thank you to everyone that does that.
Thank you so much.
Greatly appreciate it. And anything you'd like to talk about that you got going up this week? Any work?
Well, head to the gapodcast.com. After this, I'm going to have a review up of The Last of Us 2 because I've been writing down my thoughts, and I don't know how this is going to go, Luke. I have no idea how this is going to go, but I have devised an extremely cheeky way to get around the crazy embargo situation. What I'm going to do
have you lawyered up?
No, I haven't. I don't think I'm just going to fucking ask for forgiveness instead of asking for permission. No, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of the text that would be about the narrative, and I'm going to replace it with black squares.
Yeah.
En masse. And so the review is going to go up, And then when I'm allowed to talk about all that shit, I'm going to replace it with the text that would have been.
Okay.
I think it's going to be pretty interesting. It's going to be my little dumb protest against how restrictive these restrictions are. How this embargo is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah.
All right. You can find me twitter.com/Luke Lawrie, Lawrie. Joab's on Twitter as well. Joby Jojo.
Yeah, I might put up. I don't know. I'll either put up. I'll see how I go. I'll either put up a short video of GTFO on Twitter, or I might put up a longer video on the GA podcast YouTube. It depends on. I got to watch. We had like a 40-minute session. I'll watch it back. There's large periods of nothing much going on in GTFO while you're setting up for the periods of high octane action. And so I don't want to put up a single 40-minute video because that'll be kind of dull. But yeah, I might put up a shortened video instead.
Cool.
Yep.
Nice. All right. That's it. We'll be back next week. We'll be talking about the hopefully the PlayStation 5. And
hopefully. If
we do record something for it tomorrow, then we'll figure out a way to get it out to people in case they want to I don't know, tee it up at the same time, and they can listen both, but we'll see. We're not sure yet, but hopefully that can happen. Otherwise, see you all next week.